Then on the strand, with steeds and treasure and armor, their roomy and ring-dight ship was heavily laden. High its mast rose over Hrothgar's hoarded gems. A sword to the boat guard Beowulf gave, mounted with gold. On the mead bench, since he was better esteemed, that blade possessing heirloom old. Their ocean keel boarding, they drove through the deep, and Daneland left. A sea-cloth was set, a sail with ropes firm to the mast, the flood timbers moaned. Nor did wind over billows that wave-swimmer blow across from her course. The craft sped on, foam-necked it floated forth o'er the waves, keel firm-bound over briny currents, till they got them sight of the Geatish cliffs, home-known headlands. High the boat, stirred by winds, on the strand updrove. Helpful at haven the harbor guard stood, who long already for loved companions by the water had waited and watched afar.
Yes, indeed. Do not adjust your television sets. Do not adjust your television sets. It is the case that we are actually doing this thing. Beowulf is happening, people. This is not a drill. We are back with Beowulf. I'm very excited for the next session. Welcome to day 10 of Beowulf Age of Heroes, starring the amazing TariToons. This is part 3 of Horror at Herrogate. And I am very excited. I'm just putting a note to myself about something I noticed before. But I am very excited to be able to play tonight, play this afternoon with Tari, and to be back with all of you. So welcome, Arvanauts, to a Tuesday stream. It is October 22nd. It is the week before Halloween, so I hope everyone is getting ready for that. What better time to be talking about horrors and, you know, things like that. Before we go any further, just a couple of reminders about ways to support us on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube. Discord is !ArvCord, Twitter !ArvTweets, and Blue Sky !ArvSky. And if you're watching me over on YouTube, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciated to have all of you lovely folks here. Yeah, please make sure to follow us and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, which is free for you, but really helps us. Would love to get that number to a record over there, because we're close to that record right now. So now would be the time to do it. Oh my God, Craigery, Ghost. Subscribe for 14 months. Thank you so much, Craigery, for the resub. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, spoopy ghosts. That's the perfect time, I would say, for all of that. And in fact, I'm going to put another note to myself. Okay, great. Good. Another note there. Thank you very much, Craigery, for that. I appreciate it. And yes, I will talk more about how you too can be just like Craigery. And why wouldn't you want to be like Craigery? And support us by subbing to the channel. Thank you so much, as always, for that, Craigery. So, yes, YouTube, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, and of course the website, arvanelleron.com. If you have not already done so, please make sure to check out our actual play podcast, Hearthglow, which I believe is now up to closing in on episode 9, he said doubtfully, wondering about whether Triffid knows, because that's the stuff. That would be appreciated. Hey, Wenchkin, good to see you, man. How are you? Welcome, Wenchkin. Good to see you. So I believe that is the next episode, and you can check that out on that Arvan Elleron website, and also, of course, Gen GMs, which is the show that I do with Zach Clay on GM and DM tips. More long and short videos of that coming very soon, so you can check those out linked on that website, arvanelleron.com. Doing very well, Winchkin. I'm very excited to be playing some Beowulf today. It's going to be good times. So there's that. In the meantime, there's also stuff over here, which is, first of all, supporting the shop with !ARV shop. That's our merchandise area where you can get stuff related to a few of the campaigns that we do. Awesome swag for you, and it supports the channel. !ARV Treon is that Patreon. We're really trying to get that back over $100 and up in the positive direction. I would love to be able to do things like the Are Not Idle contest and other stuff that Patreon supports. Would love to be able to do that, but we can only do it if the number gets high enough. So please consider doing that. You can get some cool stuff for yourself that you can't get through subbing, and also get inspirations to help our tabletop players. While we're on the subject of subbing, though, just as Craigery was kind enough to do, you can also sub/resub and get those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch, and also can get inspirations to help our players, depending on the level at which you wish to support. So definitely consider doing that, because that would be very much appreciated as well. Let's see. So again, that's subbing to the channel. Please do that. If you have not already done so, please as well consider checking out the publishing side of things with !Icarus. That's my graphic novel from Athos Arts. !Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. And Greyshade, which is my Greyshade IP. Greyshade, Renegade, and Heretic. Really got a big boost in sales from the promotion that was recently done, which is great. We sold a lot over the course of this promotion, which has been really great, and have gotten a number of ratings and reviews. If you are one of those people who have read Greyshade and you have not already done so, I would like to again encourage you, please do leave a review over on Amazon or Goodreads. It doesn't take long to do. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be complex. It can literally be like, me like book, good, ugh, okay? It can be like seriously caveman vibes. I don't care. But any positive review like that really helps us with the algorithm. So please do consider doing that, because it does help us out. And thank you so much for supporting the Grey Assassin trilogy. Greyshade, Renegade, and Heretic are available right at that link now. You can also get the Greyshade audiobook from our very own Trent Sparks at that link. And you can also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade from our very own Brandon O'Brien and from the amazing people at Alligator Alley Entertainment. Got some very cool stuff coming through them. They are in the midst of editing through our work right now. So it looks like late this year, early next year, we are on track to be able to release that tabletop game, and it's going to be awesome. Oh, no, that's fine, Effect Life. Anything like that is super helpful. It's just anything that helps the algorithm, even if it's on another, like an international site, either German or Belgium or whatever. All of those are great. Any of those sites are great. It's just getting the word out is really important, and one of the ways you do that is by helping the algorithm. So thank you, Effect Life, for doing that. That's really helpful. So yeah, very proud of Greyshade. And again, as I say, that tabletop game is going to be awesome. You will not want to miss that. So there's that. Last but certainly not least, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. !Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help, and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage. And send the message we will do so for others in the future as well. Quick note on schedule. After today at 4 p.m. This afternoon, I'll be over on GogCom's Twitch channel for Pen and Pixels, playing more Songs of Conquest. That should be a good time. Then on Thursday, I will be back with more Forgotten Realms Unlimited Adventures, as we are on to our next adventure, a level 10 adventure called Lich. So I assume that's not Lich, please. I assume it's Lich. But Lich, which we found out after we took care of hordes of Dragonspear. So that opened up, is available to us, which is pretty cool. So we'll be doing that Thursday night. And then there is a possibility, you should keep posted for this, Saturday stream is not likely to happen because I'm going to be away. However, there is a possibility that that stream might get moved to Friday. So stay tuned, I'll keep you posted on whether that is the case. That is possible. I don't know that for sure, but it may end up happening. And then next week, of course, we have a couple of big things happening. A spooky reading on Tuesday, a week from today. We have the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month, which I'll talk about in a minute, next week as well. We've got a big reading coming up with Claire and Carlos Hernandez and friends. And then we also have over on GogCom's Twitch channel another Buy the Dice Roll session happening next Tuesday as well, plus Community D&D on Wednesday, plus our annual Halloween show with Edgar Allan Poe readings on Thursday, and then moving into a month of November, which is going to be a really big month of tabletop play and a bunch of other stuff. So it's going to be good times. I am very excited for all of that. Quick note as well about that Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month. If you have not already done so, please get a vote into this poll, because at the end of the session today, we will close down the poll on this. It is right now between Age of Wonders 4 and Jagged Alliance, and as of right now, we have Age of Wonders is in the lead, 3 votes to 2 votes, so it's a close vote, so you can get in your vote there. And then that will be at the end of the session today. That is what I will end up playing a week from today. So now is the time to get that vote in. All right, with all that said, the time has come to talk about some horror. So I've unmuted myself so that Tari knows that we're ready to go. And then I'm going to unmute her. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal to you the spectacular and awesome and amazing TariToons is ready to go. And it's got the game face on, is prepared, as you can see.
Yeah.
Is ready to go. I like the idea that Genevieve, by the way, is has her bow out and ready, and looks like she's ready to basically shoot Herrogate. Just like directly shoot the town of Herrogate on the map. Just take it out, which, you know, might solve a lot of problems if you could just like.
Wait, what are we looking at?
Eliminate. Well, do you see the map on stream?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
So the
No, I
arrow was
looking
just pointed right at the
Roll20.
town. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
I see.
yes. Although you're not actually there right now. Genevieve is actually in a different
No.
space, but we will talk about that in a minute. How are you, Tari? How's life in the universe with you? And do you want to tell us who you're playing in this lovely campaign of ours?
Hi. I'm doing mostly good, besides still having a cold.
Yeah.
But you know how it is. But yeah. What else? Yeah, who am I playing? That's a good question. It's been a while.
Who am I, really?
Who am I? 2, 4, 6, 1. Nee. I'm playing Genevieve, who is a former follower of one Runsild, who was our first hero in the sea adventure.
Lost at sea,
But who,
so to speak.
yeah, lost at sea. Went down a cliff.
Yep.
And did not come back up again. So yeah, Runsild picked up her sword, literally. No.
Genevieve
Genevieve
picked up her sword, yeah.
Yeah, picked up Runsild's sword. And is now leading this crew in Runsild's plate. Yeah.
And
that's who she is.
That's who she is, and I am excited because in our last session, we actually got a bit of travel to a nearby island where there was the meeting with a scope, and we'll talk more about the implications of that meeting in just a moment.
Yes, Olmsted was the name of the island, right?
Holm, the Isle of Holm, which is just Holm. Homestead was on the island, that is correct, but it is the Isle of
it's
Holm.
Homestead. I have Olmsted written down with
or
an
Olmstad,
H.
I guess, Holmstad, to be exact. But that's the village which is on the Isle of Holm, also known as the Friendly Isle. So, and I'm sure, you know, chat, that's certainly the case, that it will certainly continue to be friendly. Like I cannot.
Yeah, they totally don't have like a cultist cannibal vibe going on here. No, there's no
Wicker Man thing at all. That's not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not the bees.
Yes, yeah, friendly. What could go wrong? This is what I'm saying. This is the problem, right? It's like Boromir brings into Lothlorien his own evil. If you bring in your own fear of what's going to happen to you on this friendly island, you got no one to blame but yourself. You know, that's how.
Yes.
That's how that all goes. Yeah, no cannibals. Yeah, that's, you know, fly the friendly skies. Hey, Prince Justin, quietly lurks from work. Enjoy the lurk, my friend. I hope all is well. All right. So, then the time has come, Terry, for us to fire up some music and to talk a little bit about what happened in our last session. I will fire up some, let's see, there's so many good options here. Let's go with, we want friendly, so I'm going to throw a little... I'm going to throw my Willow in the Light up here instead of my Windswept Plains. We'll get to the Windswept Plains later. This session...
Well, we are not on plains. We're on an island.
We're on an island. Well, the first one that we did, the one that we did, which was Hermit Sanctuary. Like that was just the whole thing was like more every titled song I had was like dark moors, gothic moors, gothic dark evil moors. Like everything was all like dark and windswept.
But that wasn't a moor because then again it was an island. They rarely have moors on islands.
I didn't have any windswept island. I had windswept moors. It was it was close
With
enough.
your North Sea like soundtrack. Yeah.
North Sea soundtrack is a lot of windblown stuff. Basically, that's what that is. S'mores, exactly. Extra Dead. What's up, Extra Dead? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. I'm glad that you were not extra. I'm glad that you were not Extra Dead. Okay. So let's talk about this then, chat. In case you're wondering, why is Genevieve here? Well, Genevieve was brought here because there are rumors that were started when a merchant ship was found coming into the village near where Genevieve lives that was occupied only by one half-mad man who was basically the only survivor of an attack on the ship, who claimed that the attack had come from the Restless Dead, and that the ship itself had basically been devastated by this. And it was coming, like you do, right? And that was this place, this fishing settlement, where there had been some trade and everything, and there was a place where they were supposed to be able to. It's not a good place for bad things to be happening, and so the king of Genevieve's region asked for Genevieve to come forth, and several merchants as well asked. Originally it was supposed to be Runesild, but then it turned out to be Genevieve, to please help solve the problem of what they were calling this horror at Herrogate. And so Genevieve agreed, gathered her followers together, and then traveled off to Herrogate, where she found a sort of odd sort of group of people, I guess might be the way to describe it. The person who is the technical leader of this place is called Thorfinn, but who is the sort of leader of the village. But Thorfinn is much diminished these days and has been so ever since his son Arn.
Going into the west.
He's diminished. He has remained Galadriel, yes, and has diminished. This is actually his other form, like Galadriel turns into Thorfinn. No, Thorfinn, who I wonder if I have. Did I get a picture of Thorfinn up here? Let's see. This is nope. That's home.
I've watched the Finland Saga anime. I know what Thorfinn looks like.
Yeah. Okay. So you know the drill.
Also, the main character in that one is also Thorfinn.
Yes. So Thorfinn has been sort of down, particularly depressed since the loss of his son Arn, who is kind of a legend in the village. Supposedly took down this troll and was like this great hero. And ever since the loss of Arn, Thorfinn has been sort of devastated and depressed and not really tending to the care of his town, which has become a particular problem, as there have been strange doings abroad. There have been people who have vanished from the village that have not been found. The village itself has started to get kind of a cursed reputation, so a bunch of traders and fishermen and so on are kind of avoiding the place now. And the whole place just feels like it's under this sort of curse. And the only suggestion that people had was you might be able to gather more information about the lore and the sort of the legends of this town, including the legend of Arn, if you go over to this friendly island, which is the Isle of Holm. And the Isle of Holm is where Genevieve is there right now, as you can see. The Isle of Holm is a very different place than what Herrogate and the fishing village looks like. Here it is much lusher, it's more green. There is a festival, although it's not happening right now, but there is often a festival, which is a reenactment of the battle between Arn and the troll. The troll supposedly had come from this island, and people were generally very chill. In fact, when Genevieve landed, she was approached by Frida the Weaver, who is the token that you see on that island, who was just, was very friendly and calm and talked about how lovely the island was and about how the settlement holds this great festival to reenact that heroic victory, and also told Genevieve that if she wanted to know more about the history of the troll and Arn, that she could speak to the scope the scope of Homestead. And you person that you see above the other person on that island is the scope of Homestead. We literally just met them at the very end of our last session, which Tari and I were thinking was probably July, something like that.
Yes, July 23rd.
July 23rd. So, wow. So 3 months literally since the last time we played, but now we're playing, so that's good. So anyway, so as we begin our session, you have just met the scope. And you have an opportunity now to interact with them. You were gradually walking back towards the village, which is where you are now. It is early evening. There are many lights twinkling from the huts and the halls, and you hear the sort of pleasant, rattling of dishes from inside the halls and sort of chattering of people. Everyone seems to be... They're at home, but they all seem to be in a relatively good mood. There are some people still walking around the streets, heading back home.
Would you say they're at home?
Well said. They're keeping the home fires burning, if you will. Exactly. You keep wanting there to be a Herrogate hooked horror. You know what? I love what you've done with alliteration. I bet that Tari doesn't want there to be a Herrogate hooked horror. I bet that would not be optimal. I bet.
Not really, though revenants are also not optimal. And,
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, revenants can be a problem for sure.
Yes. My introduction to hooked horrors actually were the Drizzt Do'Urden comic books.
Oh, really?
And because the first hooked horror that Drizzt meets in that one is actually oh god, I forgot what the species is called. They're tiny, extra tiny gnomes who can shape stone. What are they called again? But he was shapeshifted, not shapeshifted.
Is it Sfur? I can't pronounce it. Sfurblin?
No, it's not Svirfneblin. Those
Okay.
are gnomes.
Okay.
No. It was a different species. But yeah, he was actually one of the good guys.
I see. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Who has been cursed.
I never do this, but I had a student in a midterm exam recently who didn't know this answer to one answer to a question, and so I'm grading the exams right now, and at one point they mention this is a science fiction course, okay? So you're like blah 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 blah, and then Drizzt Do'Urden comes up with 2 scimitars, and I started cracking up because it was clear that and the student had told me handing it in, Dr. Wilson, there's one question I just didn't know, and so I think at least you'll find it funny. And I was like, I did find it very funny. It was utterly wrong, but it was very funny. It was it had this very much so anyway I started blasting vibes, except with Drizzt. It was very funny. Anyway, okay, so as we begin our session, then you have just been introduced, and Frida, the Weaver, has bid you good night and is headed on to her home. And you are now standing with the scope, basically, in the village. Just to quickly describe him again, I think you can see some of this basically right now is what he looks like. He is dressed in a simple brown tunic. He has this shaggy hair spilling out from beneath his fur-trimmed leather cap. And he has got his lyre, which he is holding in one arm. You can see that the instrument is... I don't know whether this is kind of a deep cut, but if you've ever seen the guitar that was used by Jimi Hendrix, this is going to sound random. It was
Is it on fire? Is his lyre on fire?
His lyre was not on fire, but it was so used that below the strings, right in the strum area, right in the resonance hole, basically that leads down to the body of the guitar, it's literally sort of almost bowled out a little bit because it's been so
well-loved.
It's been so strummed constantly. That's what this looks like. Having said that, though, it looks like it is a beautiful instrument, even though it has very clearly been well used. But he is standing sort of facing you because you've just been introduced to him. So I will now.
What time of day is it roughly?
Early evening, probably 5 o'clock at night, maybe 6.
Evening. Is Frida also there?
Frida has said goodbye and is headed off to her home.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Exactly imaginary. Anyway, I started slashing.
So you are the scope, I've been told.
I am. And
what exactly is a scope?
You're asking me that?
No, she's asking that in character.
She's in character.
I have no idea, so she has no idea.
Oh, okay. And he sort of gives a little smile and he says, well, a scope is, one might say, a musician, a bard. I tell the stories of these people. And he strums a few notes and then hums. And he strums again. And you notice that as he strums these notes, he has a very nice... I'm very into Gordon Lightfoot at the moment, so he's got very much a... he's got that, strong vibrato. But also the lyre, when he hits the chords, beautifully tuned. Like, just not out of tune at all. Just this beautiful, awesome lyre chord followed by his music. And he says... It's my job to catalog stories for my people and, of course, to sing songs to them, to inspire, to help them when they need to grieve, to celebrate. That's my work here.
That sounds incredibly lovely.
I think so.
I wish my job was as lovely, but I'm afraid most of my job, I guess not anymore, consists of cleaning and cooking.
Well, why are you here, though? It's a pleasure to welcome you to the Isle. Why have you come? Also, I should say that he's probably like mid-20s. He's very young.
Well, first of all, hi, I'm Genoveva. I was sent here to, by here I mean like the general region, not specifically here. To investigate what's going on on the other side of the sea in Herrogate.
Oh, yes, I have heard stories, although I have spent most of my time here on the Isle, but yes, there are dark tidings from that place.
Yes, so I've been told you've known Arn?
Oh, and he nods. He said, yes, well, I did. Now, of course, Arn is gone, sadly. But I did know him, and yes, I knew him well.
Yeah, well, you see, like the person who sent me here, and by here, once again, I don't mean here, I mean the general region, that's Arn's father, so I figured, and like he wants to know where his son is, or what happened to him. So, yeah, that's why I'm talking to you right now, I suppose.
I would like an insight check, please.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Insight. Where is it? Bloop. That's a 17.
Let's see. 17. When you mention that it was Arn's father, essentially, that has kind of, commissioned you or whatever, you can see he kind of does this. His eyes widen slightly, and he says, "Oh, yes, well, I understand it's probably difficult for him. I can only imagine. I haven't seen Arn myself for a while, and, well, we're all a little worried. It's actually been 2 years, to be honest. We have not seen him for some time, at least, but not everyone from Herrogate comes to the island regularly, so that's not that surprising." And he says, "So I assume you came then to hear the true story of Arn the hero?"
Yes, I suppose.
And he nods and he says, "Well, I suppose I should," and he kind of looks around and he says, "All right, well," and he pulls up his lyre into his hands, plays a couple of sample notes, stops the music because if he has the music going, he won't be able to concentrate.
You know, Fifa like instinctively sits down in the grass and like sits there with like her arms slung around her legs and like looking up like a kid at a Christmas tree.
And also, I don't remember. Did you bring your Did you leave him with the ship here, or did you? I can't remember.
I didn't bring all of them.
Yeah, just remind me, because I don't remember exactly who we brought and who we didn't for this one.
I don't remember who I brought. I want to say that I probably brought Ibn Mundir and Guy.
Ibn Mundir and Guy? That would make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and you left Rigmad and Yassib back at the ship?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Okay, all right, cool. So I just want to make sure I had that.
I'm also just going to write this down.
Okay, so he strums a couple of notes on his guitar, and as you sit down, you were immediately aware, as there are a couple of notes, like almost materializing out of the shadows, Genevieve, a couple of what you assume are village children, like appear out of nowhere and like immediately sit next to you and like stare up.
I'm just imagining that scene from Link's Awakening when oh god, what was her name? The main girl. Who like
I've only played Link's Awakening once, but on the island, right?
Yeah. Well, you are only on the island. You never leave it. That's like the whole thing. I guess
that's true, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. You do only spend the time on the island.
But yeah, like when you was Marin her name? I don't know. When you bring her to the other village and then you see her singing to all the animals.
Yes.
Who then sit around her in a circle. And
that's
it's so
exactly
cute.
Yeah. So they all just appear. A couple of boys, couple of girls, possibly, and they're all sitting down, looking up, and then he says, he plays a couple of notes and says, "A terrible troll had plagued our place and made us sad and weary. And then that troll would take its place and know it is, oh dearie." And he goes up and kind of like almost taps one of the children on the nose, and they kind of like smile and giggle. And then he says, then he steps back again and says, "And so a hero was needed now. The time was only for us, and how we survived." And then his voice breaks slightly, and he sort of pauses and then begins again. And he tells a story that a troll had plagued the settlement for months, eating through sheep and goats and other livestock. And the common folk had feared that they would not make it through the winter. And then Arn appeared. Arn was both brave and clever, and he headed to the caves above the settlement to spy upon the troll for 2 days and 2 nights, making note of its haunts and its habits. And once he formulated a plan, he got 2 of the settlements on homesteads strongest warriors and led them to victory in a great battle. And only Arn survived. His companions did not. And the reason the scope says that he knows is he was the 12-year-old boy who watched as Arn had his triumphant victory. And so ever since then, and he'd always wanted apparently to be a bard, I'd always wanted to be a scope. And so he wrote the song, The Lay of Arn, it was called, and told it to everyone. And even to this day, you get the impression that this is a song which has been done many times, because as he gets to the chorus of, "And we would not be bowed," right? The children next to you are kind of like they're all humming the song, the melody of the song with him. And he gets done with that with a big flourish and says, "The end of the troll of Homestad." And the children immediately are like, this. And a couple of other people from the village have also gathered around. They might be parents of the children, possibly, but you can see they're sort of smiling. Maybe there's like a mother and a father there, like with their arms around each other, like listening to the tale, right next to their child. And then when the scope is done, a couple walk over, and you see a couple of them hand him like what looks like maybe sprigs of flowers. There might be a coin that exchanges hands, between them. And then they all sort of wander off back to their homes or wherever they were when he started playing for you. And he looks down at you and he says, "Well, that's more or less the tale, essentially. That's what it's like."
Yeah, Genevieve was just like, Oh, that was wonderful. Also kind of sad, but also wonderful.
And he nods. He said, "Well, yes, it was sad, the losses that we had that day, but well, we that's the way that heroic stories go. Some people have to fail that others might succeed, right?"
I suppose. So, and you said you've last seen Arn about 2 years ago.
That's right. He stopped coming here about that time, about 2 years ago or so. And well, it's my job to continue to sing his praises. But I'm sorry that he hasn't returned. I assume something has happened to him, but I can't imagine what would defeat that great a hero. Every time he says hero, he you notice he sort of like, gives you this sort of smile as he says it.
So, do you have any idea where he meant to go last time he left?
Oh, I assume just back to Herrogate, and then eventually would travel to do some more trading with the villages up north. That's what, Thorfinn, his father, always wanted to expand the reach of the village. I assume that's what he was doing. I'm too busy here with my music. I don't really go in for trading.
1 second. A little cold. I need to put on again. Looks funny on camera. Basically, just being devoured by a black blob.
No, this is actually what's happening. Genevieve is slowly being consumed by darkness.
Slurp.
Yep.
Well, I was hoping to find something more concrete. But at least I got to hear your beautiful song, so that's nice.
Well, thank you. Yes. Well, there are always places to see here on the island, and all that.
Did he have like any specific time of year that he would come to the island, or was it just whenever?
He usually came right around the festival time. It was the villagers wanted to see him because he was, of course, the one who had defeated the troll. So whenever we had festival, usually in the spring, that would be when he would come over for a week or two. He would get plenty of food and drink, and a lot of people thanking him. Can't blame them.
Did he ever tell any stories about any other trolls or something along those lines that he had slain, or anything in the meantime? Because this has been quite some time ago, like 8 years, I think. Is that right?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What did you just say? I didn't hear what you said. IRL, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. No, she asked if Arn had ever mentioned like any other heroic deeds that he might have done since he slayed the troll.
Well,
8 years ago.
He's been rather busy. I mean, I don't know. He's I suppose one heroic deed is enough for a lifetime. He usually walked around and inspired the people. Simply his presence and the hearing of the song would inspire people. I don't know about other heroic deeds. He was usually too busy doing things for his father or, inspiring the villagers.
So basically, he retired as a hero and just became a trader?
Well, he's always been a hero. Genevieve, you don't need to check to know that he looks a little uncomfortable.
Is something wrong?
What do you mean?
Do I have something in my face or something? And she like touches her face. Like, you look weird.
No, weird. And he kind of like holds his cap and he's like, no, of course not. It's visitors that we get here usually come for the festival, so it's unusual to see people coming at other times. That's all. But I understand that, well, you came because you were asking questions, so that's all. Just answering questions.
No, I came to ask questions.
Yes.
Not because I asked questions.
Well,
I guess because I asked questions, I was told to come here. So.
Yes. Well, I suppose to hear the story, and now you've heard that story.
Well, I guess that's that then. And
yes.
she just looks at Ibn-Mundir and Guy and shrugs.
And he says, "Yes, certainly. Enjoy Homestead, and I hope to see you around at one of the places here. I'm sure if we have the one inn over there that you can find. It's called the Sheared Sheep," and he points at the sign of a nearby house which is rocking back and forth and shows what looks like a sheep without wool that's basically been partially shorn. And he says, perhaps I'll see you there. And he nods and then rather hurriedly turns and kind of sort of speed walks over to the that aforementioned Sheared Sheep, and then opens the door and goes inside.
Yeah, Genoveva turns to her companions and is like, well, he was a bit weird.
Guy sort of grunts and Ibn-Mundir nods and he says, "A bit nuts or a bit nervous."
Why would he be nervous?
I don't know. Perhaps he thought you were going to demand that he come with you as a musician to sing your praises. And he smiles, and Guy doesn't say anything, just sort of like gazes at the closed door of the Sheared Sheep.
Well, I mean, I do bake some pretty good bread, but I don't think it's like enough to write songs about, so...
And Ibn-Mundir sort of smiles and says, "Perhaps not, but it is certainly true that he's given you a story to work with, whatever that's worth."
Well, I suppose. I guess we are going to turn in then for the night. I don't know what else to do here.
And he nods. I also wanted to mention, by the way, this is something you might have forgotten from before, Tari. This is not telling you to do it. I just wanted to remind you that the site where the battle happened with the troll and the troll's cave and everything is also found on this particular island. So I'm just letting you know in case that's ever of interest to you. That is not me pushing you in that direction, but since it's been so long, that was the other thing on here was the story of the troll where Arn used to visit all the time and the actual battle, like the place where the battle happened. That's all.
Have we figured out where exactly the site of the battle is on the island, or
you would guess. You can actually see the hillside because Frida actually pointed it out to you.
Okay.
But only the general place. Like you don't. There's no like sign this way to battle site. But it's based on where she roughly sort of pointed it. You would guess on this hillside, maybe a half hour or so's walk, possibly something like that.
Yeah, in that case, it's like, well, we still have a few hours of daylight, I suppose. Let's go check out the point Frida's pointed out to us.
And Ibn-Mundir nods, and Guy says, "Getting dark. Need to be careful."
They killed the troll. Can't get us anymore.
And
islands usually don't have bears, so.
He sort of grunts. Okay.
What, are you scared that a giant jellyfish might climb out of the waves and get you?
And Guy sort of looks at you and raises an eyebrow and says, "You wouldn't get me, though." And sort of turns around, which for Guy is like high humor, right? Like that's as close as we're ever going to get. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to show you if you make your way up. I'm going to
making my way downtown, walking fast.
Face is past, and you're homebound.
Hey!
We're all 13. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. So I'm going to put this up on the on the Twitch stream. Sorry, not Roll20. Twitch in just a moment. Let me just. Okay, there's that. And then I have to find the adventures thing, and then this, and then this. Okay. So this is right. Okay. So it depends how big the island is. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put this up on Roll20 now. Sorry, I keep saying that. Not Roll20, on Twitch now. Sorry, I have to get through my nesting through 75,000 folders. It's better for like organization, but at the moment it's like click, 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 click. Okay. And then where the hell is my adventures thing? Where's my adventures folder? There it is. There's that and that. Okay, good. Here we are. Let me get that to a more rational size. There we are. Perfect. All right.
Yes, the delay. Any second now.
Now it should be up.
Okay, so it's a bunch of... Oh, there's a cave, I see. I just saw like a bunch of dirt and grass.
It's a bunch of dirt and grass. That's super exciting, yeah. So one thing to note as you're going up there, again, you can hear sort of like there's now music coming from inside the sheared sheep. So you can hear that music, the sound of a lyre and maybe sort of like a simple drum might be in there being played, and voices singing and laughing, and sort of the village, the warm lights of the village are there as you make your way out of town. A lot of tall grasses and wildflowers on the way to this place, sort of rolling hills and things like that. When you get to the path is actually fairly clear, and standing outside the cave that you see there is a standing stone. And it clearly is man-made. It's been placed there. And on the stone, well, actually, I should say, I shouldn't just assume you walk up there. That's what you see from a little bit of a distance. Do you want to walk up to the stone or go into the cave, but this is where you were told the battle took place. There. Okay, you moonwalk up.
I walk there regularly like a normal person would.
On the stone, you see there is a carving of a lamb tied to a post and a gallant man wielding an axe. And there's a ring of carefully arranged stones around this clearing, and the earth within those stones has obviously been trampled by many feet, which makes sense because this is where they have that ceremony every year to kind of celebrate this, right? And then behind it, of course, is the cave, and you can feel, Genevieve, a cool, damp air kind of wafting up from the cave as you stand there next to the stone.
Are there any writing or pictograms or whatever on the standing stone, or?
Well, just the carving that I mentioned, the lamb tied to the post thing, and the gallant man wielding an axe.
No, don't enter.
Yeah.
Or
it doesn't say like abandon hope, here there be dragons. No, it doesn't say that.
Yeah. No. Okay, in that case, do I have a lantern, or do I just have torches? I have torches. I'm gonna take a moment to, light a torch.
Okay. You can do that.
And then I want to have a look into the cave.
All right. When you go into the cave, and the torch flickers a little bit as you go in because of the very humid, as I say, damp, cold air, but it doesn't go out. And when you walk in, almost immediately the cave entrance opens out into a much larger area. Clearly would have been plenty of room for a troll to hang out here, what you would think. And there's a trickle as you go into it. The cave isn't super large in terms of it doesn't have a lot of surface area. But, hey, big boss. But there is, you can see a trickle of water. You can hear dripping water as you go in here. And there's actually a trickle of water down the stone. In fact, Let me see. Do I have this? I'm going to play some Moors, okay, Tari? Because I know you love Moors. No, I'm not doing that. I'm playing Cave of Time. So you can hear there's some trickling water here. And as you look, you can see there the water is trickling down the stone in the back of the cave. And there's a small pool that is worn into the surface of a large boulder. And beside the pool, there is a pile of animal bones, probably you would guess from like the trolls' previous feasts or something like that. Obviously long since picked clean, one might say. And that's just what you see just by look, but obviously if you want to search the cave further, you can do that.
Yes. I guess I want to pick up a pebble and toss it into the pool of water.
Bloop.
Bloop.
Yep, and you see a little bit of splash come up from it.
Yeah, I guess in that case, we'll just like keep walking and looking around.
How
large does this cave appear to be?
It's not enormous. It's pretty decent size in terms of height. Like there's, plenty of room, as I say, for a troll. It's not really huge though internally. Maybe might be like 100 feet in diameter. It's not like an enormous cavern or anything like that. So that's like, what does that work out to? Like 33 meters ish, 30 meters, 33 meters, something like that. So make an investigation check for me, though, please.
Yeesh.
And also let me know if you want your followers. I assume they're just helping you in general, but like,
no, they're just hanging out. Else. Oh, that's just a 6.
Okay.
That's not so good.
You're like, you see, a bunch of damp, like areas and things like that. What is the cave wearing? Does the moss make its vine?
Are we doing take 10s in this game?
No, but I would allow you, if you wanted to use one of your followers, I don't think you need to activate them. If you can think of a way that your follower might have another way of looking around this than what you're doing. So in other words,
I mean, I'm thinking that Ibn Mundir, he's a scholar, of course, book smarts and everything. That he might have a different impression of this place than the rest of us.
Okay.
Especially as for being far traveled.
So he glances around and he says, I cannot say that I am directly connected to stories of at least seeing trolls myself, but it is usually the case that there were, and he points at the wall, trolls don't usually climb very high, do they? And he's pointing at what look like at first like just notches in the cave wall, but as you look at them more closely, you can see that they look like they might actually be handholds, like hand and footholds going up the wall, and definitely not big enough for a troll.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I hold my torch up and try to see where the stairs, ladder, whatever is going.
You think if you look carefully up there, and again, there's like dripping water that like falls in your eyes as you're looking up, but you think that maybe 40 feet above you-ish, there might be a very funny, Big Boss. That person is about to fall very low. That's what we're working on. 2 weeks.
Lower?
2 weeks.
Even lower?
If you have not already voted, by the way, early voting and has started in your state and you're living in the United States, make a plan. Early vote if you can, and make a plan to vote. No one can sit this out, folks. There's a great amount at stake here. Not just the sort of usual, higher taxes. There's a lot more at stake. So make a plan and be ready to vote to preserve democracy. Not hyperbolic. Okay. Anyway, you're pointing up at the absolutely. Absolutely. Check your registration. I agree, Craigery. Check to make sure your ballot was received, and tell the people you care about to go vote too. 100%. No one can sit this out. I absolutely agree. Okay. So looking up, you see that there might be, like, Genevieve, a ledge, maybe like 40 feet above you. Not a big ledge, but definitely these handholds lead up to that ledge if you're looking there.
Like, Yeah, Ibn Mundir, can you hold this torch for me, please?
And he does.
Yeah. And like just try to light for me. And then she starts climbing.
And as you take your first step, Guy says, "Be careful. Slippery, probably."
Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
I need you to make an athletics check for me, please.
Oh boy, because that's what Genofifa is great at.
Remember, now wait, before you make the check, chat, let me remind you all that there is another, but there's a buy the dice roll that's coming up. But otherwise, and there's community D&D. But if any of you have inspirations, this does count. You could definitely do that if you don't want to see Genovifa fall to her death. I mean, Effect Life has inspired Genovifa. Thank you, Effect Life. Thanks,
thank you.
Effect Life. Okay, so you can roll that inspiration if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that. Thank you.
Ooh.
Oh no! Oh no! That's
okay. Let me just see. Okay. I should have 2 available. The other will be reserved. You might need to use it for a second try at this one. Okay. So you're like, so you slip, and you are going to take a little bit of damage as you fall.
Ouch.
Rather hard. So let me just see how much.
On to the tailbone. That's gonna sting for a while.
Mm-hmm. That was less than great for you. You are going to take 8 points of damage.
Jesus!
As you land right on your arm, breaking it. No, I'm just kidding. That doesn't happen. But yeah, so you take a seat and think over, and so you sort of hit the ground, and then you sort of look up and you see Guy, who says, "Slippery."
Yeah, well, if you are so knowledgeable about climbing stuff, then you go do it while she like tries to get up and like rubs her tailbone.
And
ow.
And Guy says, "Why don't you climb? I'll go behind and catch if you fall."
While climbing?
I'll position myself here.
Okay.
And Ibn Mundir says, "It might not be the worst idea."
Sure, okay. Ow.
So go ahead and
stretches. It's like, ow.
Ow. Go ahead and make that
flexes and like it's like this
and
time.
Also like your clothes are also now like covered in like mossy dirt, not dirty water, but like like cold water. Okay, so make another check. I'll give you again. You're going to do this at advantage this time, not from chat, but because you're actually getting. He is doing the whole like helping you if you fall thing.
Thank you. Also, she wouldn't notice if her clothes get wet, because her dress is made of wool.
Oh, fair enough.
Very thick wool, so she wouldn't notice unless it's like completely soaked through.
I have worn a soaked wool garment, and it's not pleasant.
No, but like it takes a lot of water to get to that point.
That's fair.
That's an 11.
Okay. So this time, you climb up about midway. You slip slightly, and you grab on painfully just before you plummet again. You're going to take an additional point of damage, Genovifa, but this time at least you did not fall all the way. So you can make another check to get the rest of the way. You made it about halfway up. Again, at advantage again.
Ow.
Yep.
I hate the stupid
You're going to get up there, and it's going to be a Skyrim where you're going to find like a moldy wheel of cheese because it was all randomized loot. That's how that works.
She's like cursing the rest of the way. And again in 11.
Okay. So
I made the exact same roll.
You made the exact same roll.
What the hell is happening?
You make no progress there, but the good news is you don't fall to your death either. So you don't take any more damage, but you do need to make another roll. That's not quite good enough.
Yeah,
it's close though. You feel like you're just like,
What help? What is this bullshit?
You do take another point of damage slipping. Guy is able to catch you before you go down too far. And so Ibn Mundir down at the bottom says, "You sure didn't you ever climb as a child?"
No, that was usually what Runsilt was doing.
Well,
I was just the one like getting the adults if she like broke an arm or something.
It struck me that his voice should be echoing. No time like the present to practice. This is me playing Spelunky. Yeah, exactly, Craigery. Every platformer ever.
And
Tari loves platformers.
Oh yeah, my favorite genre. Hey,
All right.
19.
So finally, you're like, God, maybe the third curse is what gets you over it. Okay. So you were able to pull yourself up finally onto the edge of this ledge, and the whole thing is covered again in damp, slippery moss and all that. So it's no shame for you that it was difficult to get up here, but you do finally get up to this fairly small ledge. And when you sort of pull yourself up onto it, it's not very large. Like even, maybe it's I don't know, 1.5 meters, right? It's not very big, maybe 5-6 feet in each direction. And at first you're like, what the hell is this doing up here? But clearly it leads here. And then you see that there is something that is lying at the back of the ledge. Actually, and this is a good point, he's holding the torch, right? So you can just make out with the flickering shadows, there's something back there, but you can't see what it is from here.
Yeah, she would like, unless like there's a large puddle here.
Jusant, Triffid. Yes, that's right. Oh God, I was so frustrated with Jusant. Oh, controls were so terrible. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, she would like lay down on her belly flat and like reach down and like ask Guy to like basically hand her / toss her the torch.
So Guy reaches down and Ibn Mundir hands him one, and Guy sort of like reaches, and then I'm tempted to have him do the Aragorn thing where he throws the thing at the Nazgul in the film, but he's not going to do that. He just sort of like holds it up to you so you're able to grab it. And then when you reach yourself back over so you can see that there is something wrapped in coarse dark brown cloth, which is now largely soaked through. This does look to be largely soaked through, but it's definitely a bundle of some kind. And it's at the back of the ledge.
Oh, what's this then? Yeah, and she starts, like she holds like the torch in her left hand and like starts to pick at this bundle to see what's in it or whatever.
All right. I would say that you're able to do that without too much difficulty. I'm going to show you a picture of what you find. It is a picture. Thank goodness for snipping tool. Love me some snipping tool. Okay. Yes.
Right? That's like the best addition they ever made to Windows, isn't it?
And then they kept threatening that they were going to move it. I'm like, you better not move it because I freaking need this thing. It's the best. Okay.
Like especially if you have multiple screens, right? Like.
Oh yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
Exactly. And like that's the thing, that because it can capture anywhere on any monitor, it's like super useful for that reason. Yeah. Okay.
Like I vividly recall taking screenshots and opening up my program, opening the screenshot and then manually cutting it down, exporting it, blah blah blah.
This is so much better, like the old school print screen back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna show this on again stream. Because as you unwrap it, what you see is this. And I will increase the size of it to show you. It is a strange and beautiful axe. And actually, it is the... It axed you a question. It is actually a full handled axe. So like there's the full handle of the axe, but the axe blade is just about half a blade, like you can see for yourself there. Like the other half has broken away. But on the axe handle itself, and the axe handle is a good size, and it's kind of how would I describe this? It's a sort of large flat handle. So it's pretty sizable, I guess I would say. Like when the axe blade was complete, this must have been a really heavy axe, actually. And you see there's a bunch of printing on it, Genevieve. And as you bring your torch, or I should say carving, but the point is words that are carved. And as you bring your torch close to it, it seems to be something which is telling a story.
Right. Can I read it?
You can. Do you want to do that up here, or do you want to do that down there? Or where do you want to do
like I want to get like the gist of it. for now, and like I can probably like if need be study it in detail later.
Okay. Okay. The
Just
story.
Like, what's like the first thing I get?
So the story reads like this. It says the troll's defeat is not as you've heard. And then it says Arn taunted the troll, then cowered behind a boulder, while 2 warriors defeated the monster and gave their lives. Only when the battle was done did Arn emerge to claim the victory as his own.
I see.
So it reads like a recitation of fact more than a story. But it is, of course, not at all what you heard from the scope.
So, like, on the picture, like, this is like a broken thing. Is, like, the full text on there, or does it look like some text is missing?
It looks like the text is full. It looks like actually, in fact, that's a good point, Genevieve. You can even see some of this as well, that on the axe handle and the axe blade, I should say, there's carvings. But you can, if you look at that picture right there, the carvings basically look like they were done after the axe blade was broken, because they whoever it was that did this made it so that it fit inside the axe blade. You know what I mean? So there are not missing languages or words.
Right. In that case, I would safely pack away the axe blade.
Okay.
And see if there's anything else.
Okay.
Also, I dropped my pen.
It drops 40 feet.
And gets
impales
20 points of damage.
Impales Guy and does 700 points of ink damage.
Oh! Ink damage? The hell?
Hey, listen, pen is mightier, as they say.
Of course.
Okay. So go ahead and make an investigation check for me up here, please.
It's 3.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big. I mean, to be fair, it's not a big ledge, as I said. So there's not a whole lot of room that stuff could be hiding, but you don't think there's anything else from what you can tell. I will say that the cloth that it had been covered in, which, as I said, was kind of soaked through with water, but there's an area of dampness, but not. How do I describe it? There's a lot of water on the ledge, but not as much where the bundle was, which indicates that this has been here for a while. I'm not saying like decades, but it's definitely been here for a while in this same place.
Well, I guess that then. And she tosses what was a blanket, sack, whatever.
Okay. With the item in
back
it,
in the corner.
With the
no.
blade?
She put the blade in her pack.
Okay,
but she didn't want to put the wet cloth in her bag.
Got it. Okay.
So she just tosses the bag, cloth, whatever, back in the corner.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna toss the torch down.
And Guy says, toss it?
Yeah, like over there. I'm not gonna have you catch it.
All right. And Ibn Mundir says, all right then. Triffid asking the real questions. All right. And he kind of ducks off and, waits for the torch to hit the ground.
Yeah. She just basically drops it on the spot where the guys aren't standing.
Okay.
And then it's like, I'm gonna attempt to climb down now. If I fall, you catch me, right?
And
right?
Guy says, I'm ready. So I need another athletics check as you make your way down.
Oh, for fuck's sake. 16.
Okay. Technically, you're doing an advantage because you've got Guy there, so it's actually 21.
Then that's a natural 20.
You're able to make it with no difficulties at all. You were born to climb walls, just totally no problem. You get down to the bottom, having only lost 10 hit points on the attempt to get up and then back down to this thing. Also, let's see. I just want to double check. For Ibn Mundir and Guy, what are the gifts that they have?
Yeah, so Ibn Mundir has Engage, Rescue the Hero, and Lore of Kings.
Okay.
Guy has engaged, take a blow, and nimble, and he additionally has a burden, awkward.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay. So you make it back down. And Ibn Mundir says, "What did you find up there?"
Let's step outside so I can better show you in the light.
Okay. Well, kind of getting dark by now, by the way. I mean, it was early evening already, so it's not pitch dark.
It's still probably gonna be lighter outside than in the cave with
100%.
the torch. So yeah,
100%.
Step outside.
Okay. And so he once you do that, you show I guess Ibn Mundir and Guy both what this is. Guy, as per usual, says little, but Ibn Mundir kind of sort of frowns as he's looking at it, and he says, "This writing is not very old. It's perhaps a few years, but it is not original to the axe blade."
Also, look at this axe blade. There's no rust on this thing.
And he nods. He says, "That is true." And Guy says, "All metal rusts."
Gold doesn't rust.
"All usable metal rusts," he says.
Copper doesn't rust? I guess it turns green after a while.
And he nods and he sort of says, "Been taken care of."
She actually like rubs a finger over this to see if there's like an oil patina or something on it.
No, but it does look, as you do that, as if this has been polished in the past.
Well,
you don't know how recently.
Probably not in the future. She wouldn't be able to tell that, right?
But I mean, what I meant was like not recently, but not not from necessarily from the construction of it. In the not too distant past is my point. It has been polished.
I'm just wondering, how can this thing not even have like a speck of like what is that called? I need to look up that word. 1 second. Flugrust in English.
Corrosion? Is that what you're going to say?
No.
I thought about that when you were talking about copper.
Flash rust? Is that what it's called?
Flash rust? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's called flash rust. That's like when you have like something made of iron, and instead of like being like properly rusted through or like having like a lot of rust on it, it only has like a speck of rust on it, basically.
Okay, like surface rust almost, maybe.
Yeah, but like also just very little.
Okay.
Like it's still like, okay, you can just like easily get this off and like the thing will be fine.
Interesting.
Basically.
Okay. Flash
like
rust.
A thing
I had not heard of that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least that's what the internet just told me is what it's called.
Okay, well, the internet never lies, so.
Of course.
Yeah.
Who would do that? Go to the internet
who would lie on the internet?
Who would do such a thing? But yeah, that's like a thing that you because I used to LARP long ago, and it's like for like my armor and stuff. It's like something that you need to treat.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes,
cool.
On your
Very
armor
cool.
pieces. And like sand it off and then apply oil. And that kind of stuff just happens. Like we call it Flugrost, literally like flying rust in German, because you just get this from regular air exposure. You don't need to have it like laying in the rain or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like gets a bit rusty from the moisture in the air, basically. But yeah, okay, so yeah, but like based on this image here that you're showing me, there appears to be no rust whatsoever on this thing.
Yep.
Which is incredibly suspicious. Unless we have already invented steel in this time.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, that would have been... Oh god, no, I don't know the timelines here.
And I can tell you this is
steel
not
was
made of
invented.
steel anyway. This is definitely iron.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was like, yeah, because I also don't see any, like, it was like, hey, maybe it's Damascus steel, because then it would, but then it would have the lines or something.
Yeah.
And then also, even Mundia would definitely recognize
exactly.
that. Yes. But yeah, I also like turn this thing around and have like a proper look at it, like to see if there's any other engravings or anything other weird about this, like about this part where it's cracked.
It definitely. Well, one thing I can say for sure is that it is, and you can even see this from the picture, that the sort of the break mark is very ragged and uneven. So this was not something that was like carved off after the fact. This looks like what happens when a blade shatters or splits in some way. So.
Yeah, Triffid, this is why I said that like even Mundir would know, because he is from Al-Andalus, which is modern-day Spain.
Right.
And his husband is Moorish? Moor?
Moor. Mm-hmm.
Moor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't...
From Moorland. I don't know. I don't know the terminology in English, sorry.
Yeah, and I don't honestly know what if they would have discovered that or not, just that I know that this is made of iron, allegedly.
Yes. So, yeah. A lot of aha in chat.
Well, they've been doing that ever since they saw the thing on the blade. There was all this speculation. Wait, so what does that mean?
Also, Kinofifa would take off her glove and like very gently touch the what's supposed to be the sharp edge of the blade to see if it's still sharp.
It is indeed sharp. Your thumb is sliced off.
Moment in Rivendell.
Yeah, exactly. Still sharp. Yes, it is indeed still sharp. And it is, and as you sort of like, do the thing where you flick the metal, like the ting, whatever, it's still, it is still resonant. You have a feeling that whenever this was made, this was a very solid weapon. Like a very, like well-constructed, well-built weapon that obviously shattered because of some fierce blow.
Guy, you've seen like a few weapons in your time, right?
I have.
Like I don't suppose you can tell maybe what type of axe this was once upon a time.
And he looks at it and then shrugs and says, "Iron battle axe. Two-handed, shattered."
Two-handed.
Points at the handle and says, "Wide handle, and the blade shattered."
Huh. And what do you think like would cause a blade, like an axe blade, to break in such a weird way?
He sort of like frowns and says,
"Hydraulic hammer."
Yes, exactly. Good to see you, Tom. He says, "Hits hard. Something solid." And then he points out, but he points out as you're doing that, he points out a notch in the blade, and he says, "That though," and if you look carefully, you can see just the sort of faintest. There is starting to be because you have the torch, you're able to sort of bring it close, and you can see little flecks of red, which at first you might be like flash rust, but in this case, you don't think that's actually what it is. I shouldn't say red. I should say flecks of dark something. And he flicks it off with his thumbnail, and looks at it, and then does blood.
That does not seem hygienic.
Fine.
Aha. Well, I don't think it's too weird to find blood on a weapon. So...
He points at the notch. He says, "This did its job, and then broke." And the notch you can see is pretty close to the edge of the blade that was shattered.
Very odd. But yeah, then she like looks up and is like, "I suppose we should call it in for the night."
And he nods, and Ibn Mundir nods, and they say, Ibn Mundir says, "It makes sense. But what are you going to do now that you've seen this blade?"
"Oh, I was thinking of showing it to the scope."
And Mundir nods slowly. That should be interesting.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, after all, he seems to know a lot about this whole deal, so it seems weird that if he was there, then surely what is written here can't be true, unless he's lying, which would be like, why would he do that? Who would do such?
Yeah, I was gonna say the two of them, like Ibn Mundir and Guy, kind of look at each other, and Guy shrugs, and Ibn Mundir says, "Well, we will see what the story shows in the morning, then."
Yeah. So, logistics. Roughly how far away is the inn?
About a half hour to get back to the village.
Okay, and how far back to the ship?
The ship is probably another 15 minutes past that, I would say, to the shore.
Okay.
Maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, would you mind fetching the other guys while Ibn Mundir and I go ahead to the inn? And just let the crew know that they can camp on shore.
And Guy nods and says...
Wait, how big is my crew, roughly?
I think your crew, I think we said is about 20. I'd have to take a look and see. I think 20
Probably
is about right.
Too many people to fit in that inn.
Maybe. Depends on how many people are staying there right now. The village of Homestead is itself somewhat decent size. There's probably a good 100, 150 people living in the village. Although, obviously, they're not all in the inn, but... so maybe, but it might be a bit of a stretch, yeah, especially if there's anyone else staying there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess the crew is camping.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you instruct him to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm going to... Not that. Hang on just a moment. I want to make sure I have the right thing up. Okay. Lovely. Okay. So, you make your way back, and also this is a good spot to let everyone know, by the way, that you are watching the awesome and amazing, my dear friend TariToons, playing in Beowulf Age of Heroes. I'm so happy that we're back playing this again. This is part day 10 of Beowulf Age of Heroes. This is part 3 of Horror at Herrogate. And if you like this, two things. First of all, go pick up Beowulf Age of Heroes, which is available from Handiwork Games. And secondly, and spread the word and let people know that you've watched this show. And secondly, make sure to follow the channel and do all that good stuff here, because that all helps us. And also buy Tari's stuff. And at the very end of the session today, we need to make sure that we put Tari's storefront up there, because we got to be supporting Tari.
Yes, please do buy my stuff so that it's gone finally.
Yeah, buy things, buy stuff.
Buy my things.
All right, so Guy sets off down the road and down the path, and you follow with Ibn Mundir. And Guy obviously moves at a good pace because you told him to, go tell them what the deal is. About, I would say, 15 or 20 minutes from after having left the Troll's Cave. So you're about 15 minutes between them. It is a largely, it's sort of like a half moon, so you can see a little bit of light, but it's not like a, super bright sort of thing. And as you're sort of walking down the pathway, Ibn Mundir sort of holds up a hand and he says, "Wait. Make a perception check for me, Genevieve. Please."
We are waiting. 11.
Okay.
11.
So you stop and you don't really hear anything, but clearly Ibn Mundir does. And he sort of glances off to the side. And then he's got a scimitar, right? Would be what he would use for a weapon.
Possibly, he's not a fighter.
No, I know. I wondered, but he has some like dagger or something for protection. I just wondered.
Yeah, everybody would have a dagger.
Okay.
In general,
so he takes a step away from you, and he says,
stab?
Yeah, exactly, and then attacks you. No, he takes a step away from you and says, defend yourself. And suddenly, materializing out of the shadows are 5 armored figures. They are wearing leather armor. They have leather shields. And they look something like perhaps raiders might be the way to describe them. And I'm going to put up the turn order. And I would like you to roll initiative for me, please.
No bonuses to initiative. That's a 4.
That's
Kid of Paper's not a fighter.
interesting.
She's not athletic at all.
Okay, let's see.
All
right. That's all right, though,
reminder
because...
to everybody, she's a baker and a brewer.
Yeah.
And,
it's no problem, though, because you sent away your main warrior, so that should be fine. Okay, let's see. And also 10 hit points
it's
only.
In character. It's what my character would do.
It totally is what your character would do. Totally is what your character would do. Okay, so let's see. Rough day. Yeah, it's been an interesting 6 hours here for Genevieve.
She sprained her tailbone while trying to climb a slippery wall.
Okay, let's see. Wow. Well, the good news is, that is a horrific roll. You said you rolled a 4,
which is also pretty horrific.
Yeah. Well, how's a 2 grab you for being particularly horrific?
All the dice are equally cursed today.
Seriously. Okay. All right. So we're gonna say that is a 4. Okay, so yes, you are looking at these raiders, and they don't seem to be carrying any particular or obvious markings, might be the way to describe it. They are, they're just sort of like regular armor. They're not carrying any coat of arms or any, obvious,
coats of arms were not invented
would
yet.
Be coat of arms. Sorry.
For another few hundred years.
Sorry, not coat of arms. They're not carrying anything that would like any flags or obvious markings that would indicate they're from anything in particular.
Yes.
Let's see. Using.
Coats of arms were only invented, as far as we know, in the wake of the Crusades.
Okay.
And even then, didn't properly take off widespread for another while.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. So, let's see. So the issue that you are facing right here, Genevieve, is that you've sent your warrior away at the moment, which means that the only one that you have with you as a follower is Ibn Mundir. Yes. And there are 5 of these, what look like raiders, basically, who clearly are going to attack you. You do, however, have the first move. So the question is, how do you want to try to handle this, I guess? How do you try to set things up?
Also, I want to mention I have a feat called Primeval Senses, which basically means that I cannot be surprised in combat.
Okay.
I don't know if that applies here.
It does not, because you were not surprised, thanks to the presence of Ibn Mundir.
Yeah, okay, but she also would have noticed that something was up.
Mm-hmm. Well, but this is in combat though. That it says specifically, right? You gain preternatural senses that help you specifically in combat. Yeah, okay. And these ones are not. I mean, they are definitely not, blowing horns or anything like that. But they're not trying to be invisible, at least from what you can tell. So anyway, yes, you have to decide how you want to handle this. You may have to. Does Ibn Mundir have engage? Did you mention that he does? They all have engage, right?
Yeah, that's by default, I think.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
But that may need to happen because otherwise you're going to be facing down 5 of these people on your own.
Yes.
So, you could also do any number of other things that you want to do. Run for the hills. I don't know.
Should have short rested. Right. Okay. Yeah, I do wanna have Ibn Mundir engage.
Okay.
The thing is, we don't need to win this. We just need to live long enough for for the cavalry to ride in.
Precisely. But since we're talking about 6-second combat rounds, that's a number of rounds. 60 seconds would require you to survive for 10 turns, one way or the other. But you're quite right.
Ooh. In that case.
Unless you have some awesome move that I don't know about.
No, I don't. Oh wait, this is not gonna work. God, Genofifa is so useless. It's incredible. She's like the antithesis to
Runesild.
To Runesild, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Very normal. Okay, no, I think. Oh God, which weapon am I gonna use? I have a spear and a bow and Runesild's sword. Yeah, I think she's gonna draw the sword actually.
Okay.
Oh, also, because of the whole spear rule, that I can always conjure a spear out of thin air.
Yep. Always have a
I'm
spear.
assuming that would also then extend to my followers who are around me, right? So
yes,
even
that's
would
true.
also have a spear.
Although his use is going to be more or less you know what I mean? Like he's not that's not really his bag. But yes, you could.
No, okay. Right. I draw me sword.
Okay.
Do I first grab my shield because she would have her shield slung on her back, so she can't just.
I mean, since you're not going to be.
This is more important, I think, to get her shield ready. So yeah, she's gonna use her free action to draw her sword and use her action to ready her shield.
Okay. All right, she's prepared. And actually, since you're not moving at all, other than just doing that, I would allow you to get in an attack if you want, because you're not actually moving anywhere other than just.
Oh.
They're right on top of you, so.
Yeah, then I wanna hit the closest guy.
Okay. Go ahead and attack.
Wait, I have to check if my shield is added to my armor class currently. I don't know. It gives +2 to my AC.
That sounds right.
It should be.
That sounds right.
I assume it is because otherwise I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
It sounds right because you're also using shields here, so. Okay, let's see. So we're looking at a 9. 9 is not going to hit. They parry that. Stunk. They parry it. Ibn Mundir is going to, at the same time, is sort of engaging with his spear that he's super good at, sort of poking at 2 of these other ones. So you basically have 3 on you that you're dealing with, and then he's got 2 that he has engaged. So they are going to move around you and try to get some attacks in on you. And they are they're going to get basically they have every kind of flanking advantage you could imagine, since there are 3 of them, until you're able to take one of them down anyway. So let's see. The first one.
What are these goblins? They get flanking.
No. No. Let's see.
The entire time, basically. By the way, FIFA is wait, this is just rude. What is this? Why are you attacking us?
Why would you do this? Okay. Let's see. So we're looking at an 18 to hit from one of the guys.
That hits.
Okay. What they do is he tries to bash you with his shield. So that is going to do only 2 points of bludgeoning damage, which is the good news, Genevieve. The less good news is that you need to make a strength saving throw because he's attempting to knock you off your feet.
I get -1 on that one. That's a 12.
So that's counting the -1? That's actually enough. You stagger, but you do not fall. 11 would not have worked, but you were able to manage to stay upright as he brought his shield down upon you. Okay, the other ones are just going to, the other 2 that are on you are going to try to attack in the more normal way with a spear. That's a 13.
That does not hit.
Okay.
Dunk against the shield.
All right, and the second one is a 15.
That also doesn't hit.
Okay, so doof, doof, and meanwhile, Ibn Mundir is fighting, although giving ground. Now, as a reminder, he can engage for 2 rounds without incurring any issues. Once you get to the 3rd round, he has to start making death saving throws to see if he stays upright, because he's dealing with those other 2. But otherwise, you'd be facing a lot more of these attackers. As we get to the 2nd round, then, and we go to the top of the round, that's you. Do you want to continue to try to do the attack on one of the figures that you were facing?
Yes.
Okay. Please proceed.
Yeah. That's another 12.
12, unfortunately, is another miss.
Sake.
It's not a miss by much, but it is a miss. Okay. Do you want to move? I mean, you could, like, shift slightly. You can't, obviously, move, like, very far because you're going to incur tax opportunity. But you could try to shift left or right.
Like, try and... like be back to back with Ibn Mundir.
Okay, right. That'll help definitely with the flanking. Okay, so now 3 of them are going to attack you, but this time without the flank benefit. Let's see, and we are looking at that is a 12, a 13, and then a 20, not natural.
Well, the 20 hits.
Okay, with the spear.
Piercing damage.
You are going to take 4 piercing damage, yes. Okay. And he manages to... Ibn Mundir manages... You can hear him panting as you sort of stand like back to back with him. He's giving ground. He's struggling with these 2 that are remaining. Top of the 3rd round. 2nd verse, same as the 1st?
Yeah, try and hit these guys. Could you stop, please? What did we ever do to you?
Well, wait, it's because it's Rune-Sealed Sword. Something is something wicked this way comes. Okay. Okay.
I did consecrate her as a ranged fighter, so well, I mean, I say that she doesn't even have a dex bonus, so
non-natural 20, 12, and a 14.
The 20 hits.
Okay. Let's see. That is going to be another 3 points of damage. Of 6. Of piercing damage. Yep. Okay. As we get to the top of the round, you think you hear some sound of something rustling nearby you, but it's hard to tell anything specifically because you're too busy fighting for your life. But you think you may hear something for what that's worth. Okay, you may proceed to do the attack. Except this time, let's have you hit. Let's make sure you hit this time.
Oh, I automatically hit. Great.
No, let's make sure that you hit by an excellent roll, as Trent always says. Just roll high.
Yay, 16.
Hey, 16. Still a miss. No, I'm just kidding. That definitely hits. So go ahead and roll your damage. I was about to
say, these guys just have leather armor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just nothing.
What the frick? Okay, go ahead and roll your damage. What?
I have -1.
Right, but it came up as 0 slashing.
Yeah, because I rolled a 1. But it's the minimum is 1, right?
Yes.
Right? Please tell me.
Yes. So you do 1 point of damage. Okay. So cool. It's a flesh wound. Okay. So you're like, all right. Now I need you to have Ibn Mundir is going to need to make a death saving throw. At the end of hold on. They do it at the end of the opponent's turn. So let me do this, and then he's going to have to make a roll in a minute. So 3 attacks on you from the 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we are looking at an 11. We're looking at a 17 and a critical hit.
Yeah, the 17 hits, and I think the critical also.
May just barely hit. Yeah. Okay. Now, you are going to take what you would normally take is -8, or you take 8 points of damage, which will lead you to -2. However, as you're about to do this, then I need you to make a death saving throw, actually, for Ibn Mundir. Let me just have you do that first.
Is that just a straight
Straight
D20?
20. Yep, you're looking for 10 and up. Okay.
16.
So manages to stay engaged with them and avoid attack. So, and as you fall, sort of Ibn Mundir is like, Genevieve! And sort of like, fights back at the other guys. But you can see that as you're sort of lying on the ground, kind of trying to hold consciousness if you can, you can see that he's sort of like giving ground as the 5 sort of raiders surround you. And then from out of the darkness, you hear a whistling sound, and a spear impacts into the shoulder of one of the guys, and they stumble backwards, like sort of grabbing their shoulder, and then another spear, and the person just falls over back dead. And as the raiders sort of look around confused, leaping in, you see this deeply impressive looking figure. And you may remember this person a little bit. This is a person who, when you first met Thorfinn, they were standing right next to his seat. They had this dark red hair that was carrying a spear. You might remember this person.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
quiet.
I remember. Oh God, Ursa.
That was the fisherwoman, who's also important. But no, this is Hilda, the spear, who was like standing next to Thorfinn. And she steps forward over your body, basically, and takes the spear that's in the shoulder of the raider that's sort of like staggering, to try to hold it. And it's got 2 spears, one in each shoulder, right? She grabs both spears and just lifts up, and his body is just like flailing on the edge of these 2 spears. And the other raiders sort of take a step back, and with a growl, she takes the spears and the body on them and throws them towards one of the raiders, and literally just impacts, like he goes flying back as the body hits them. And the 3 other raiders sort of like take a few steps back and then turn and bolt into the darkness. And the one that was hit by his dead companion sort of steps up a couple, like sort of gets up and sort of looks with wild eyes, and then scrambles away and bolts. And there is a moment's pause as peace settles on the island again. And then you hear the sound as you're sort of like struggling to maintain consciousness.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No, go on. Sorry.
And you hear a sort of fierce, quiet voice next to you saying, "You don't have time to die. Just stay where you are."
Yeah, and Genevieve, like just about to slip away, is like, Runesild is back, and then she's gone. Because like Runesild also had red hair, so
yes.
she's like,
there's right.
Another red-haired fighter woman.
I like the idea that there's almost that, like a hallucination for a moment, that like that's what it
definitely.
is.
Like she doesn't realize that this is Hilda. This is to her that's Runesild.
When you awaken, Genevieve, you are lying on a straw pallet near a small fire. And you're a little bit disoriented at first, and then you sort of wake up to realize that you're inside a room somewhere, a wooden room. And sitting on the beds near you are Guy, who is just sort of silently regarding you as always, and Ibn Mundir. And seated with her back to you is the red-haired woman. And the room is not very large, but it looks almost like the room for an inn or tavern or something like that. And no one else says anything. You just sort of wake up with your, your kind of shoulders and side throbbing. I can tell you that you have, at the moment, a grand total of 3 hit points.
Cool.
Hey, Dragon.
Sehr cool.
And whoever the red-haired woman is, she is looking at the fire and not paying attention to you.
Yeah, just like a miserable little whiny groan is coming from Genevieve as she's like waking up.
And she says, "Don't move. Those bandages are fresh."
Huh? What bandages? And it just comes out as a bandage mesh.
And she says, the ones that kept you from bleeding out. And you do realize that at this point, Genevieve, that you have something fairly tightly wrapped around your midsection, your torso, and also something wrapped around your shoulder, and also something wrapped around your left arm. Basically, everything hurts. If you've ever had the experience where just like everything is in pain, that would pretty much summarize the way you feel. But otherwise, your two followers are there, and this woman still has not turned back to you, but is just staring into the fire.
Yeah, FIFA just like feels around like, ow.
That's the least you could say.
You're not rune-sealed.
And she turns and she says, who's rune-sealed? And you see now this sort of fierce expression on this woman. I do actually have a picture of her, I believe. Let me see if I can add that to the mix as I jump into show me these virtual tabletop tokens. Yes, I do. Okay, I'm going to put this time I will put this on Roll20, Tari. So hang on, it is coming up as we speak. Okay. So this is what you're looking at, and this, again, you do remember this person having been here, having been there as the sort of standing at the right hand of Thorfinn when you spoke to him before. And I'm going to move Frida out of the way because Frida's not here yet, and the scope is not here at the moment. But you two are. And she says, my name is Hilda, and we've met once before. I warned you to be careful. I see you didn't pay much attention.
Oh yeah, I remember, I guess. What are you doing here?
Looking for you. I had a feeling
that you found me. Hello.
And she nods and she says, hello. I would like to know what you were doing out there on your own, though. When these people attacked you, why were you out there to begin with?
We're walking to the inn.
But why did you leave the village in the first place?
Oh, wanted to see the place where the battle with the troll happened.
You couldn't wait for day to do that?
It still was day when that happened.
And she kind of nods slowly. Oh, I see. I suppose that makes a little more sense. Well, you got lucky. That ambush couldn't have been more perfectly timed if they tried. And it didn't help that some of your best warrior followers weren't there. And she looks over at Guy, and Guy doesn't say anything. Guy just sort of like nods slowly. And Ibn Mundir, who looks like he's got also his arm in a sling, he looks like he's been kind of messed up too, sort of says, he was sent away. Genevieve had asked him to get more people. In fact, he was trying to do the right and safe thing. Whoever did this knew exactly the right time to strike. And Hilda says, I agree. And in a way, that's why I'm here. I've been tracking down this group of people, doing some of the things that we thought might have been responsible for the raids on the village. And I found this one. And she kind of like nods at you and says, and then I found you one way or the other. I know. And she sort of kind of looks at you and then says, maybe this isn't the best time to do this. You don't look well. But you came here to get answers to questions. And I have a couple of the answers anyway.
Okay.
And
she looks like she's about to pass out again.
And so Hilda stops and says, well, I could wait if you need the rest, but I can't wait too long.
Where do you intend to go? We are on an island.
And she says, you can rest here. You'll be safe in the sheared sheep. These ones attacked from the shadows, and besides, and she kind of sighs heavily, I think I know where they came from. And she hands over, or sort of like drops just on the bed next to you, what looks like a piece of ripped green tunic, presumably ripped from the tunic of your attackers, if you had to guess.
Okay.
And she says, I was afraid of this, but these ones that attacked you were not mere raiders. And she points at the green, and she says, I don't know if this looks familiar to you or not, but this is the material used by Thorfinn's guards. I knew I couldn't trust him.
Why would Thorfinn send me here just to have me killed? I don't understand.
It's a good question.
Wait, also, aren't you also with Thorfinn?
No, I serve him, but I don't trust him, especially now after I've seen what's happened. And she sort of sighs heavily and she says, there must have been something that you got that he wanted, something he was afraid for you to have. And besides, 5 of them making their way across, attacking in secret, presumably he hoped that you would be easy prey, and normally you would have been. And she kind of nods and then says, Thorfinn's men may have been sent to deal with you once you started more asking questions about Arn specifically. Because the story people know isn't the full story. She kind of trails off. And by the way, she's got, let me just say, like, this woman did not skip arm day. Like, you know, like muscled, like strong, fierce face, a face that has seen more than its share of long days and nights, and a weathered face. Her spears, and she's now retrieved both of them, are standing up against the wall. But you can see, even from your vantage point, that both of the spear points are covered in blood. And again, the handle, the sort of grip where you would hold the spear, is again well worn, not unlike the scope's lyre, because she's used this quite a bit. And she says, did you hear the story of Arn? Have you heard it from the scope or someone else?
I heard the song.
What did you think about it?
It was beautiful.
Lies usually are.
Are they?
I
once lied about breaking a vase when I was a kid. I don't think there was anything beautiful about that.
Well, there might have been if you got away with it. As it was,
no,
you had
I
to
didn't.
face. And she nods. She said, exactly. The problem is that Arn has. And so she sort of sighs heavily and she says, I don't know the full details of this, but Arn and I were friends. We were close. And when I was growing up, Arn was always kind to me. We were more like brother and sister than lord and servant. And he wanted to learn everything about how he could be, he said, brave like me. Well, when the troll attack happened, I was proud of him. I thought he'd finally learned what he needed to stand up for himself. And one night when he was half drunk, a few years ago, he confessed that it hadn't been him at all, that the 2 other village warriors had done all the work, and that he was simply there to pick up the pieces. called himself a coward. He said he didn't deserve to live. I told him he didn't deserve to die. He thought that was funny, I guess. Anyway, I've never heard the full details of how exactly it all happened, and he wouldn't talk about it. But he's not the hero that everyone in Herrogate and here on Homestead believes him to be. Whether that explains why Thorfinn sent his warriors after you, because these are no raiders, they're part of Thorfinn's crew, or whether there's some other reason, I can't say.
It just doesn't make really a lot of sense. If he's like terrified of me unearthing the truth about his son, then why would he send me out to find his son in the first place?
Because he may have suspicions about what happened to his son, but he can't kill you for asking questions in his own hall. It'd be too suspicious, and his rule is failing. There was a time when Thorfinn was a great leader, someone I would have followed against any creature, living or dead, that he sent me against. But ever since Arn is, well, people say that when Arn disappeared, Thorfinn got worse, but the truth is, Thorfinn has been not like himself for well over a year now. Even before Arn disappeared a couple of years ago, he was starting to lose it. He's not the same man that he was, not the same leader that he was. If he decided that he needed to preserve a story so he could preserve his leadership, and she shrugs, it wouldn't surprise me if he decided to do that here. But he can't do that if you're poking around asking questions. So instead, he sends you to the Isle, hopes that you'll either have a pleasant time there and leave and not come back, or that you'll have a pleasant time until you get ambushed and killed and never return. The whole village, remember, has been losing people. I didn't know why, but now I'm starting to suspect the truth.
So either I'm some elaborate cannon fodder, or he was hoping that I could investigate this whole thing without learning the truth?
Probably he hoped you would find the story of the troll, that they would be happy enough with that you'd wander off and tell other people the same thing. That would be my guess. Or maybe he thought that he'd send you off to Homestead, then he'd send his people, they'd kill you, no one would ever be the wiser. You were just a stranger after all, a foreigner, and no one would really know why you would disappear just like all the others. As I say, I don't have any details myself. I just know that I haven't trusted him for months, and now I see I was right to.
Are the stories about people disappearing even true, or is it also just his doing?
No, it's true. And there are some who have an answer as to why, but he doesn't want to hear it. There are some who think that a drake has been the one responsible for it. Now,
Drake?
A drake. Now, you know that a drake, D-R-E-A-G, is a legendary creature of undeath, that when there is unfinished business or when something has gone wrong, like the Revenant, will take this into their own hands and do something about it by coming back to harass the living. However, it is also the case that, like, every other village is always like, we're getting attacked by a drake, and like very seldom is that actually the case, right? But it certainly is not you have heard of these creatures before.
So like out of character question.
Sure.
Is Drake just the Old English form of Draugr?
I think so, yeah. It basically is like a Draugr, yeah.
So it's not its own thing. Okay.
And she says, but the key is to know more about what happened to Arn up there. I don't know the details, and without it, I can't just go and accuse Thorfinn. Even if we brought evidence that these cloaks are the same cloaks, or these tunics are the same tunics that his men wore, that's not enough proof. They'd ignore me. And also, well, people tend to ignore me except when I'm fighting them. And she kind of glances back at the spears. She says, I'm not much with words, honestly. and Guy gives a approving like grunt.
Oh, what would Runesild do?
Do you say that aloud?
She kind of says it to herself, like out loud, but like not to anybody.
Ibn Mundir, I think, but loud enough that theoretically Ibn Mundir could hear it. Because Ibn Mundir would say, she would tell you to decide what you need to do.
Would she though? I think she would just run and fight the next best thing she could find without thinking about it, to be honest.
And he folds his arms and looks at you and says, and why are you now the hero?
I'm no hero? Look at me. And she like points at the bandages.
Yeah, as you do that, look at me. And he says, the reason that you are leading us is precisely because she ran and fought. We all loved Runesild. But you have something that she did not have, and that is caution and thought. Perhaps you need to use those. And Guy just sort of looks over. The crackling of the fire, you can hear as like the shadows play off of Guy's face. And Hilda, sort of with her face set, kind of stares down at you impassively. And she says, if you really are a hero, or at least if you lead people that think you are, then you're going to need to figure out exactly what happened here. I'll help if I can, but the way I help is, and she kind of glances back at the spears.
You seem much more of the heroing type than I do, to be honest.
I've got no head for it. I throw spears and they hit things, and those things tend to stay dead. And I have a suspicious nature. If someone asked me to save them and their livestock, I'd be as inclined to yell at them to do it themselves. But Arn, and she gets kind of quiet and she says, Arn's different. Even if he made up this story, even if he lied, he wasn't a bad person. And I want to know what happened to him. So, I'll help you if you need the help. But I don't know what to do beyond what I've already told you.
If he was so remorseful about lying about the whole thing, then why did he come back so often to the island and to show the people, to be the people's hero, to inspire them, as a bard put it?
She shrugs and she says, I don't know. He wouldn't tell me, and after he confessed, he wouldn't confirm it again. He said all he would say is that stories often have an ending that nobody wants to read. And maybe he's right about that too. Something on this island, though, was drawing him back here. Something or someone. And the answer's here somewhere.
What if his dad told him to come to the island to keep up the lie?
And she kind of grunts, and then you can see her, if it's possible for her face to get even more dour than it was before, like she's even more like total frown, and she's like, you mean that traitorous beast might have sent his own son here to keep up the lie?
Yeah, well, he evidently cared a lot about the reputation and to keep it intact.
And she kind of stands up and walks over to the wall and just stares at it, and at her two spears. And she says, gods should damn you. But you're probably right. And they should damn you for that too.
Thanks?
Ibbendir grins.
I guess. Well, I mean, I don't really know the guy like you do.
He's not who he was. That's all I know.
So when did you last see Arn?
And she sighs. She says, a couple of months ago.
Oh.
He said he was going to solve some problems. He was going to set things right, he said. I didn't know what that meant. Maybe neither did he. Then he went off, and he didn't come back. And Thorfinn got even quieter and more self-absorbed than usual.
So, I'm not an expert on Draga. Like, I only also heard the stories, like the kind of stories that your parents tell you when you're little so that you would behave. But like, if this is all connected, then it would make sense for the Draga to be the people who died back then when fighting the troll. But then what would they be doing on the mainland?
There's one place on the southern coast. He used to go there. He said for knowledge. We call it the Silent Sanctuary. There used to be
I've heard of that place.
There used to be monks there that would perhaps make him feel better. The last time that I spoke to him, I told him he couldn't. It came up. I told him he couldn't keep lying about it, at least not to himself. I told him it had taken me a while to recognize my own mistakes in life. Now I was living, at least, in a way that I could be proud of. You can't live in a lie. And I knew the time would happen. And so she kind of sighs, and then she says, I told him he needed to tell his father. He needed to confess. He said he would talk to the monks. Then he would tell Thorfinn. And that was the last I heard of him.
Were you there 8 years ago?
And she kind of looks up at you. I would like an insight check, please.
Nope. It's a 4.
Yeah. She says...
So, like, for reference, dear viewers, when I initially rolled the stats for Hunsild, like, I rolled absolutely incredibly great stats for her. For Genofefa, I rolled the worst fucking stats possible. So she has, like, no bonuses on anything.
Okay, so let's see. She says, and are you talking about the 8 years ago, you're talking about with the troll? Do you mean?
Yes, if she was there
No.
for the whole thing with the troll.
I wasn't. I only heard him talk about it. It didn't sound, at first I couldn't believe he could have stood up to the troll like that. But then I thought maybe he had risen to the occasion. He could do something like that sometimes. He was surprising, and you can see that her voice is getting quite soft as she talks about him, Genevieve. And she says, he was a good person in his own way. But I wasn't there, no. If I had been, maybe none of this would have happened.
Did you know the people who died there?
I had heard of them. I didn't live in Homestead, but they were brave warriors. Two of the best fighters that they have on this island. They'd moved originally from Herrogate. That's how I knew them.
So... Oh, that reminds me. Where did you put my bag? And she like looks around as best as she can.
And she says, "It's under your bed. Why?"
Oh, can you get it out for me, please?
And she kind of raises an eyebrow.
Struggle moving.
Yeah, she raises an eyebrow. She reaches under the bed, pulls out the bag.
Yeah, and then she like reaches in and like pulls out the X-plate that she found in the cave. Here we found this in the cave that the troll apparently lived in. Was hidden on a ledge.
And she sort of like pauses and looks at this. And she sort of looks down the edge of the blade. She reads the blade and then reads the stuff for the handle. And then she kind of looks up at you and her eyes are just wide. And she says, "You found this in the troll's cave?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. I thought maybe he was downplaying what he did. Maybe then he really was a coward. He really watched these two people die and didn't do anything until... She kind of shakes her head, sort of bowing over the axe blade. And she's like, huskily, obviously sort of like her voice ragged, she says, "He wasn't a bad person. He really wasn't." And Ibn Mundir says, "There's still something that's not adding up about all this. Even if it's true that he watched these two warriors kill this troll and then picked up the axe and pretended it was him. It's a lie. It's not a great lie, maybe. But why all this extra secrecy? Why risk his life? What about his father? Why would anyone care this much?" And Hilda doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And then she like gestures to Hilda to like let the X-blade go around so that everybody can have a look at it.
Everybody does. Guy looks like just sort of very, his eyes glint as he sort of looks up and down the blade.
So what I don't understand about this blade though, specifically, like we found it, like this cave was incredibly damp. It had like a spring in it, very moist in there. But there's not a speck of rust on this thing.
Hilda sort of glances at it briefly. "So someone's been cleaning it then?"
Yeah, apparently.
And Ibn Mundir says,
whoever put the X-blade there
right.
can't have been gone for long.
Exactly. Ibn Mundir says, "But who?"
That's what I'm wondering.
Has to be someone native to the island. Someone who would know.
Someone who's been there, who's seen the truth.
And Ibn Mundir looks up at you, Genevieve, and says, "Who would that be?"
Well, I mean, the only person we know for now would be the bard. But
the scope.
We've only spoken to two people on this island so far. So.
And Hilda says, "The scope. Maybe the scope knows."
Well, he did seem very uncomfortable to talk about the whole thing. But why would he be singing this man's praises if he knew the truth? That just doesn't seem right to keep the lie up.
She turns around, her eyes are flashing, and she says, "I'll make him tell the truth then." And she like grabs both of her spears, and Guy like looks at you like kind of like, and Mundir the same thing.
What are you doing with the spears?
I'm gonna get the scope to tell me what happened.
Just ask him with your words.
What do you mean?
Like, blah blah. Yep. Hey, what really happened? We found this.
And your comment throws her off so much that she literally stops and is like, blah blah. And she like angrily, you see her hands like you think you maybe hear a slight creaking as her hands tighten around the spear shafts, and she says, "I don't do blah blah. That's why you're the hero. I'm not. I'm
not a hero. Stop calling me that.
Why don't you get up and talk to him then? Those are fine now." As she's like pointing at all the bandages, and even Mundir like looks at you, and Guy doesn't say anything, but also kind of glances in your direction. And she says,
Fever attempts to stand up from the bed.
I would like you to make a Constitution saving throw, please.
I thought as much.
Blah, blah.
Oh, that's an 18.
Oh, look at you. Should I be playing dramatic?
That's like her one good stat.
Yeah. Should I be playing dramatic, like, da, 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 music as you, like, stand up, right? Yeah, you are able to resist, you stand up. You're up there. Genevieve, you can do that. Also,
ow.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is not the most fun thing ever.
So can I wear my clothes?
You're still dressed in them. You
wait, she has the bandages over her clothes?
No. No, I shouldn't say that. I meant like underneath. But like your tunic and stuff like that. You're not naked, is my point.
Yeah, no, okay.
And but yes, your armor you could also put back on if you wish. And
yeah, that sounds way too painful. And also way too smart, and she's not smart, so we are not
makes
doing
sense. That. Okay, so you're just going to sort of head in that direction. That is reasonable.
It's like we're in an inn. What could possibly happen here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like that's of course.
No, she just like puts on her dress.
Okay. All right. And then is going to make their way. Now it's right now. It is probably, you were told, about midnight or so. So you have been unconscious for a few hours.
Oh, do I still hear some music coming from below?
No, music has stopped now.
Okay. I don't even know if the bard is like still. Oh, the scope is like still awake. Guess I'm gonna check.
We can wake him up, Hilda says angrily.
Why would we? We can just ask him in the morning. Where's he gotta go?
You just accept it, injustice right now instead of this thing?
Well, I mean, like, Thorfinn was willing to kill me and my friends over this. So, what if somebody is threatening the scope?
And
like, clearly, he must have a reason to like keep up this lie for 8 years.
And she sort of nods and she says, "So you're saying we need to wait for the morning before we deal with this? Is that what you're saying?"
No, I'm saying we're gonna check now if he's still up, and if not, then we're gonna wait.
All right, I'll follow you. And if he says anything, and she kind of grips the spear, then he won't have a chance to sing anymore.
But we want him to say things. That's why we are gonna ask him. You don't make a lot of sense.
And she kind of just grunts as she follows you out. Now, the good news about this village is that Homestead is not very large. So you are, when you get downstairs, you can see that the innkeeper who has been there and sort of, inquires after you and directs you and, lets you know that they'll probably be asleep, but here's where the scope actually would be. And there's, as it turns out, the scope actually has a room at the back of the sheared sheep, which is on the first floor of this inn, which is where the scope usually stays.
Oh,
he's an artist in residence. Let's put it that way at this place. Right?
So, about how long ago did he retire?
We went pretty late, I'd say. The innkeeper says maybe half hour ago, 45 minutes.
He's probably still awake then.
And the innkeeper shrugs.
Oh, that's good.
All right, then he's awake, and Hilda pushes past you. Let's go. Sorry.
Fefa almost falls over.
Yeah, exactly.
Could I inquire you for a glass of milk, maybe?
And the innkeeper says, "I'll have it brought up to your room."
Like now, ideally, I lost a lot of blood.
I see that. Why are you standing? What? And Hilda says, "Because she's needed." And the innkeeper kind of...
I'm not dough. I need dough.
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 Everyone just sort of looks at each other. But he says that he will bring the milk to your room.
Okay, thank you. Also, maybe I don't know what kind of food you still have, like bread. I don't know. Something to eat would be good.
And he nods. I'll bring you some of the I'll bring you some of the leftover lamb shank.
Oh, outstanding! Thanks a lot. All right. Hilda, you still there?
And Hilda's there, although like clear, like turning back to you constantly, like wanting to leave. Like very much like, come on, let's go.
Fifa just like stands and positions herself in front of her and takes her hands. Breathe with me. In and out. We're just doing the scene from Mulan when
it's basically
the big guy holds the short guy. I forgot the names. But
exactly. The guy with the eye with like, yeah, exactly. It's right, and it's the huge dude, right, who's like picks him up like a baby as he's putting him down. Yeah. So after a bit, you go back to the room, and Hilda like hauls off like she's gonna slam through the door, and then she stops and looks back at you, and she's like, "What do I do here?"
And Fifa looks and just leans forward and knocks on the door.
Oh. And after a minute, opening the door, you see a rather tired-looking Scope, who says, "Yes, what?" And then sees Hilda, whose expression is, and sees you with the bandages, and the Scope's like, What on earth is that?" And Hilda says, "We've come to see you. Let us in now." And the Scope sort of like steps back a few steps, and Hilda glares at you, Genevieve.
Yeah, what my associate here is trying to say, I think, is that we have some very urgent questions, and we understand that you are very tired, but if you would be able to spare us a few minutes, that would be grand.
I suppose. And Hilda like practically pushes him aside as she like walks into the room, and then stands there stiffly. The room itself is fairly modest. You can see there is a stand where the lyre is sitting in a place of honor. There is a small little fireplace in here, most of which has sort of died down to mostly just embers. But there is also there are a couple of candles on little night tables by the bed. And you can see there are a bunch of like, he's basically dressed in his nightshirt, more or less, and his clothing is on a chair near the bed. Yeah, exactly. You're sparing us a few minutes. The question is whether you do it voluntarily or having received a life-threatening injury. Exactly, imaginary exponent. That's exactly right. So he kind of goes over and then sits down in the chair. And there's like one other chair in the room, but very clearly Hilda is not going to be using it. Hilda is just standing up behind the chair, just glaring full bore at the Scope.
Yeah. That was the wrong button. Genevieve looks at the chair. Is it all right if I sit down before I collapse again?
And he nods. "Of course, yes." You can do that.
Thank you. So, and she brought the axe blade wrapped in a cloth.
Okay.
And it's like, we went to check out the cave after we spoke.
All right.
And we found this thing here, and she like hands him the little bundle that the X-blade is in.
And when you hand it to him, he sort of sees it, and then he opens it, unwraps it, and then he sees, you can see his shoulders literally slump, and I suppose it's better this way. I have wanted to put down the weight of Arn's tale for a long time. I'm glad you found this, I think. And he
I'm not. I got kind of stabbed a bunch over this.
And he sort of stares at the blade and then up at you. I wasn't very... I'm sorry. And Hilda's like, sorry for what? And he kind of looks at you, Genevieve. And he kind of glances up at Hilda, whose fist is getting ever more tightly white-knuckled around the sphere shaft.
Well, I think he's sorry about me getting stabbed over this, otherwise I wouldn't know what he's talking about.
I am sorry about that. Well, fine, it's fine. And as he slumps back in his chair, he sort of like, you can see, he just sort of takes a deep breath and then says, when Arn first came to Homestead, I was just 12. I was a orphan living on scraps. Mostly my aunt and uncle helped me when they could. I'd actually greeted him at the docks. He came in, had a sword and armor, and I thought maybe I could find a path to a better life. And he gave me some bread and some cheese, and he told me to give him a tour of the village and said that he had come to solve the problem of Homestead. Well, when he said he was ready to go, he took 2 people from the village, our best warriors, and he told me to wait behind, but I didn't. I followed him. I hid in the bushes near the troll's cave, and when Arn came out to the mouth of the cave, he shouted into it. He said, green, warty, monstrous thing, come out and face true redemption. And then it came out. It was 8 feet tall, and Arn just stumbled back. I don't think he knew how big it was or what he was facing, and he ran off. I didn't see where he went at first. The 2 warriors fought the troll. It was awful. The troll broke the arm of one of them and punched the other in the chest, and there was blood and bone, and finally one of them took this axe and drove it into the troll's neck. It shattered, but the troll clutched at its neck, and there was blood, and then it went down and it stopped moving. And then I saw Arn come out from behind the boulder that he'd been hiding in the whole time. And I saw him pick up the shattered axe. And then I must have made a noise, and he called for me to come forward, and I did. He made me tell him what I'd seen. I told him I saw everything. But Arn said, what would be the point of telling the truth? It would be better for the Isle of Home to celebrate a hero. If he was a hero, he said, everyone would respect him,
everyone would love him. And he said he would come back once a year with coin for me if I would tell his tale. And I said yes. Now, Hilda, I'd like you to make an insight check on this, actually, Genevieve. You can do this at advantage. Because I want you to see if you're noticing Hilda's reaction.
11.
Okay. Yeah, you can see that when he said the thing about hero, you could see that Hilda almost took an involuntary step back when he said the thing about, then I'd finally be a hero and everyone would love me. So he says, Arn came back with money and he let me open a workshop. Eventually I became not just a bard, but a woodworker. I made this instrument, this lyre, and he points at the lyre, but I made it with material and money that Arn brought me. 2 years ago, Arn stopped coming to Homestead, but I kept his secret. I didn't want to rob the people of their hero. I guess I didn't want to rob myself of the hero either. And he sort of falls silent and then just says, I've been the scope here for 8 years. And all of it was based on a lie.
So who were the real heroes?
The 2 warriors. The villagers. Their names are always remembered too. But not as much as Arn.
No, what are their names? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, and he mentions 2. Cannabis is one of them.
Cannabis? That's a weird fucking name.
And Hargard, Hargard. Cannabis
Do
and
not
Hargard.
care about spelling.
Well,
It's King Hargard.
King, not Haggard. That's a whole different. Or Hagrid. You're a wizard, Harry.
No.
You're a bard, Scope.
We only reference good books here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah.
So who are they?
He says 2 warriors from our village. 2 of our greatest ones. Originally, they had been in Herrogate, and then they moved over to Homestead. But when Arn came over, they still owed him allegiance. It was his, or at least they owed his father, Thorfinn's allegiance. He always said that he thought now he would get his father's respect. And I don't know, I guess there was always time, I thought, for him to tell the truth eventually if he wanted to. In the meantime, it was worth having a lie. At least that's what he thought.
Do they have family or anybody left?
No. They were both just men who had come. They'd never been able to be around long enough to get married. They had friends in the village, but the friends already knew of their triumph. They just apparently didn't know all of it. And Ibn Mundir says, "This is serious."
Oh, did he come along?
Well, unless you didn't want him there. I'm sorry. If not,
I
then
kind of
not.
assumed it's just Hilda and.
No, that's fine. Then
Filippa.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Then. So then it would just be. So then Hilda would say, hero. And you can hear that she's like practically got tears in her voice, that doesn't seem like Hilda at all.
Well, I don't know her that well.
It's true. And the scope says, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to him. I'm sorry. And
why did you keep up the lie even after he didn't come back to pay you further?
I didn't want the village of Homestead to lose hope. It can be a hard life sometimes in this world. I wanted them to have something they could believe in. And the festival, and the singing, and the feeling of the children's faces, the happiness. Not all
Don't you
eyes.
think the people would be happy to know that their friends were the real heroes?
Not if their friends didn't need to die. If Arn hadn't run away, and there were 3 fighting the troll instead of 2, maybe none of them would have had to die. He was supposed to be the hero. They were his followers, and he abandoned them. And again you hear crack, crack, crack of the spear shaft behind you.
But the thing is, even though Arn abandoned him, Cannabis and Herrogate were still heroes.
In the tale, they get their own heroic approach. They were still heroes.
I'm not talking about tales. I mean about what happened. It's
nods.
not like if the truth came out that there would be no heroes for the people of the island to celebrate.
But there's another thing, Hilda grunts.
What is it then?
If the truth comes out, the people of the island would have reason to be angry at someone who lied to them. And his father.
Yeah, well, there's already plenty of reason to be angry at the father. Though the thing is, you never told me your name.
You talking about to Hilda?
No, to the scope.
And he smiles and he says, because I don't have one.
What do you mean you don't have one? Everyone has a name.
My name vanished when my parents died. I became the scope. That's the only name I remember for myself now. Although, maybe I'll need to come up with a new line of work now. And you're struck for the first time, Genevieve, about, again, how young he looks. He's got to be maybe 8 years ago, right? So he's 20 years old. And he just looks like, you look at him for a minute and you can just see the sort of child of 12 in his 20-year-old face, you know? So.
Oh, he's just baby-faced.
Yeah. Good genes. Scope is kind of messed up. Yeah, that's, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you made your bed. Now you have to lay in it. What are you gonna do? Just keep living with the lie? Like, this clearly has been weighing on you. And sooner or later, somebody else is gonna figure it out.
It's true.
Like, we just got here today and we immediately found out the truth.
But you asked questions other people don't ask. Nobody asks questions around here. They just go along. And Hilda says, that's always been the problem. They just go along. That's why you're the hero. And Ibn Mundir says quietly under his... Oh, God damn it, he's not there. Never mind. I keep thinking he's there because he was going to say something else dramatic. But no, we'll have Hilda do it. But no, Hilda says...
Like, hear from upstairs.
Yeah, like whispers through the knothole that he's been staring in the whole time. No, just kidding. But Hilda says, that's why you're the hero. You win this words thing.
Wait, me? How often do I have to tell? I'm not a hero. I don't know where people get this idea. The thing is, I'm not here to make these kinds of decisions. Like, at the end of the day, this is up to you, my dear Scope. It's none of my business. But I'm just here to figure out what happened to Arn and to try and figure out how to stop this whole business with people vanishing.
If you can figure out what happened to Arn, the scope says, if you can figure out what happens to him, if you can stop the people vanishing, then I'll confess the whole thing. Then they'll have something else to look forward to. They'll have something else to hold them together. I swear.
You mean you want a different heroic tale to replace the one?
No, I want a heroic truth now. But I can't give them the truth that their whole story is based on a coward. They need something else to give them some sort of strength. If there's anything I know that I've learned as a scope, it's that. I don't want you to give them another lie for a lie. But I want to know what happened to Arn. And I want to know what the actual truth is. And then I'll...
what if I fail?
And he lowers his head. Then...
Like, I'm new to all of this. Like, I'm just a baker. What do I know? I'm not a monster slayer.
And Hilda grunts and says, "You asked the better questions than anyone else has in 8 years."
Do I? It got me stabbed. And she, like, again points at the bandages.
Well, so you need a little work on the fighting side.
I suppose. I prefer to just not get stabbed. This seems a little less painful than being stabbed, to be honest.
People around here have been getting attacked for a while now. And vanishing. And if you don't want them to get stabbed, you've got to do what you can do as a hero, even if you don't think you are one.
Well, I suppose. Scope?
Scope nods.
What? Do you know of anybody else who knows the truth?
The only one who ever saw what happened was me. And Hilda says, and when he told me. But he may have told someone else. It's possible. I just don't know who. Maybe the monks, though. He did tell them many things.
The thing is, considering the whole getting stabbed business, Scope, I don't think you are safe alone. At least until this whole thing is being resolved. Has been resolved. I think it would be safer if you would stay with my crew for now. For the time being.
And Scope sort of looks at you and then nods slowly, and Hilda says, "Well, as for that, I'm going to come too, if you'll have me."
Oh, absolutely.
I want to know what happened to Arn, and I can keep this one, she looks at the Scope, safe, if he deserves it. And she kind of glances at him, and the Scope sort of looks up. And
he has a beautiful singing voice. Of course he deserves it. What are you talking about?
He has a beautiful lying voice. And the Scope kind of like gives him...
No, it's a liar, not a lying.
And they both turn to look at you with their eyes wide. And then...
What?
And then the Scope says, "All right. You're right. I need to be part of the truth, too.
Maybe you need a different instrument, then."
And he sort of looks at his lyre and back at you.
Truther?
And he says, like, "I can tell truth even through an instrument that's called a lyre." And Hilda says, "What's all this word play? We're just going to sit here, or we're going to do something?"
What are you talking about? What wordplay?
Truth, lies. All right. In the morning, can we leave and go find what's going on? She says, kind of staring at you, Genevieve.
I mean, unless we get stabbed again. But Scope, I think it would be wise if you also like stay in our room.
And Scope nods and says, "All right. That sounds good."
Okay, then grab your blanket and let's go.
And Genevieve, I will tell you.
Starving and also need to sleep.
And I will tell you, by the way, since we're on that subject, that I will give you the benefit, in this case, of a long rest. You won't be able to benefit from another one for 24 hours, but this means your hit points will be back up to full. And,
outstanding.
And if you, I don't think you.
Nothing ever happened.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you spent any hit dice, right, during a rest. I don't think you.
During a short rest, you can.
Right. No, I know, but you didn't. I'm saying, like, you didn't have a short rest, right? Okay.
That was a whole issue.
That's exactly. So this will be your long. So this will be your long rest, which will count for the next 24 hours. But I would say that as you are resting in the inn just before you, the next day, head off to go track down the next details of what will happen. We will bring our session to a close as the plot has thickened, y'all.
We have added starch to this plot and stirred it.
It's all based on a freaking lie. It was all a lie. But now there's other information, which you still don't know why Arn disappeared, and you're still not sure exactly how to bring, and also where you don't know what's going on with Thorfinn exactly, and all this stuff. So there's a fair bit of stuff involved with this. And I should mention, in case anyone's curious, that Hilda was indeed coming to look for Genevieve. It is, however, very that was not a I'm coming out of the shadows moment. It was literally she's triggered. She's set to come in at a certain point, which is a good thing, because after you had sent all of your followers away, I'm like, this might be a problem. But Hilda the Spear does in fact come for the reasons you've now heard. So we will see what happens with all of that. And I had the music off for the last half hour or so deliberately, because I was figuring that focusing on this tale of a lie designed to make people feel better than what might actually be the truth was important.
This is great, by the way, the repertoire that Hilda and Genevieve are having. Like, they're not able to communicate efficiently.
Like Hilda's basically like, I don't.
In different languages.
Just shut up about stupid words. I don't know, like, that type of thing.
And Genevieve doesn't even realize she's like doing wordplay. She's
exactly.
She just is like completely earnest about everything.
Exactly, and Genevieve also being like, I'm not a hero. And it's like, what? Like, it was very good stuff actually, Tari, and I liked the idea that Genevieve is also learning to try to come into her own, because she is in her own mind, obviously, in the shadow of Runesild. She was a follower, not the hero herself, and figuring that out. And I think there is truth to what Hilda's saying, actually, which is the idea that Genevieve does have strengths that Runesild doesn't possess. Like, one of the reasons Runesild...
She can bake.
No, but like Runesild would have just been like, oh, I'll go... I mean, Runesild, right? You tell me. Wouldn't Runesild have just been like, oh, well, I'll go find the, let's go just kill the Draegr. Like, where's the Draegr?
Yes.
Like, or the Draeg, rather.
Where monster?
Yeah, like, I mean,
go
whereas
punch monster.
Genevieve is very much like, well, wait, we have to do a bit of exploration. And this, as you can tell, this adventure requires gathering some info about like what the hell is happening here and why, before you just go off half-cocked, like killing everything that moves. So Genevieve, I think, is well suited for that, even though it's going to take a little while for Genevieve to kind of come into her own. So I really enjoyed that. And yes, the banter with her and Hilda was a lot of fun. And I immediately had this image that like, you're assembling like the weirdest Avengers team of all time. Like, in addition to your followers, it's like Hilda and then the 20-year-old Scope haunted by his past and all this stuff and all this thing.
To be fair, Fefa herself was only 18, so...
Right. Yeah. I mean, well...
So she's even younger.
It's true. And of course, at that time period, being 20 wouldn't have been considered like, oh, you're just a young buck. Like, that's what, basically middle age, at this time we're talking about, so...
according to children and teenagers.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How did you feel, Tari, about session today and so on, and where will the five folks find you next?
Not counting the incredibly cursed dice today.
Oh my god. I'm climbing fall. Oh my god. Yeah.
Kind of just save scum to get around the shit. So quick save, quick load. No, this was incredibly fun. I really love how this all is like playing out in like the grander scheme of things. It's like in the sense of like how like the bigger storytelling aspect of, like you said, like Genevieve trying to figure all the shit out. And I'm like, I didn't realize that Genevieve would be that not fun to play, because I've never played a character like her before.
Yeah.
So this whole and like the whole thing with the followers and everything, it's just real good stuff. I think it's very enjoyable. I hope it's enjoyable to watch too.
I think chat is. I mean, you tell me, chat, but I have a feeling they're enjoying it.
Against the door.
Oh yeah, my cat. One of my cats is right down there. Currently, my orange cat is curled up near the games, and my other cat is up on the cat tree. Right.
Yeah, I saw that one earlier.
There's Ganesh. Up. Yep. There's Ganesh.
Hi.
And there's my other cat down there.
He's not in the mood for this.
I'm sure they would say hi if they were not asleep, because that's what they're doing. But yeah, I agree with you, and I actually can confirm Kat is being very annoying. I sent her to bother Tari, but effectively I thought it was very enjoyable. I had a feeling, yeah, I think what I like about this is, I mean, there was obviously you had some combat you had to deal with the Raiders, but I think this was, so much of Beowulf is about tale telling, right? And about the way in which you build a reputation. Your currency is your reputation, the stories that are told about you.
But she doesn't have a reputation so far. She just has Brutzel's reputation.
No, that's right. Yeah. And that's the thing, is she's coming out of the shadow of that, but it means she's also got to reckon with this stuff, because it's true, like these stories kept the people together, right? Like these inspirational stories. What happens if the inspirational story is bullshit? Or at least partially so. And that I think is interesting, because it's kind of the reason that we tell stories in the first place. Anyway, sorry, you were telling me about how you felt about it. So it's going to be fun. I'm really glad that we're back in the saddle with this, because I cannot wait to see what you do about this next month. Now that we know you got the monastery thing with the monks going on, and you got like all that stuff, and monks. it'll be interesting.
Need to sing the monk song from what was the name? God damn it, Gallivant.
Oh,
like the Weird Al monk song.
Yeah,
Have you ever watched
exactly,
that show?
Exactly.
Did you ever watch that show?
I did not, but I have heard about it.
Oh my god, it's incredible. I love it.
I think this is also because you told me about this. I think you mentioned it to me,
because
and I think
really
that's
fun.
why.
I mean, to be fair, it's like exactly my kind of thing. I love musicals, I love comedies, I love like these kind of like comedy musicals specifically.
So it's perfect for that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Thank you, Big Boss. That's
great.
very kind of you to say. Highly enjoyable. The DM's experienced, has great rapport with the player. By the way, Tari's takes are so much fun. Absolutely. Can confirm. This is why I love hanging out with Tari on Tuesdays, doing this and the Fighting Fantasy Gamebook stuff. Tari Tuesdays is totally what it is. You know me, like I'm as an academic, I live my life on the basis of milestones. So I'm like, I teach on Monday, I do this on Tuesday, like it's all very set. I will definitely
like a literature person, you live your life on alliterations, and therefore you're proof of Tari Tuesdays.
Right. Because you love the puns as much as I do, and in no way do you ever groan or find yourself like just I can't believe that never happens. So
no, but that's like also just like part of like the punning contract, right? You have to pretend to be offended, right?
Oh yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's like a terrible joke.
Exactly.
Right?
I had a friend actually.
You need to be offended.
I had a friend who used to be like he would like get so annoyed that he would tell like sort of the bad pun, and then he would just be like ha ha ha, and I was like, okay, like in case you're curious, I know that pun was not a great pun. Like, I actually get that. It's called leaning into the joke, because that's, it was one of those things where I'm like, come on, dude.
Ironic.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Touch grass, like
Touch
the
grass,
type of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, Imaginary Exponent. They work as amazing milestones. Happy to say they make my Tuesday much more pleasant. Something to look forward to. Oh, that's really, I'm glad to hear that, Imaginary, especially given discussions of where you live and all that, as we've talked about before. And yes, Extra Dead, the patented Tari Tuesday. I will definitely have to check Gallivant. I definitely am going to have to check this out. I am not aware.
It's a bit of adult humor in there, so I'm not sure you can watch it with the little ones.
Okay.
Well, I mean, with your daughter, she's old enough, but
actually my son really got into for a while. I don't know if you know Schmikago or Schmigadoon, which is basically, it was on Apple TV. Yeah. It's what's his name? Key and Peele.
Nobody uses Apple TV in Europe. No.
Oh, okay. Well, then, because it's basically it's done by these guys who are big, huge musical fans. So the first one is they go to this sort of magical land. This couple is having trouble in their marriage. They end up in this magical land where they basically everything is built on like musicals. So the first one is from a certain era of musicals, like Oklahoma, Brigadoon, and things like that. And then the sequel to it, the second season, was called Schmikago.
and it's from the era of like 70s musicals, so like Chicago and Hair and like Godspell and those kinds of musicals, like Jesus Christ Superstar, like the more goofy sort of musicals, I would say. But anyway, if you love musicals, and I do, and if you love sort of humor, which also has some poignancy, and then if you love, Kristen Chenoweth shows up and she's in it, and like Alan Cumming, Sweeney Todd, Alan Cumming like plays this guy who's quite obviously Sweeney Todd in one of these things and stuff like that. So anyway, it reminds me of what you're describing. Good. So I'm going to check this out. I will look at Gallivant at some point. But I need to let you go, Tori, because I need to get moving for my GOG stream about a half hour, and I need to run this thing.
I'm fired. This is
so
it.
No. I would never fire you. But you should let people know, because we didn't do this before, about your store.
Buy my shit.
Which I believe is just... No, it's...
Buy the book. Okay, this is not actually the book, because this is like a test print that I did, so like the page order and stuff is different. But it's more or less this.
Such a good book, though. I mean, like, you should... It is so worth it. I know some people in chat have already bought it. It is great stuff.
Do please buy it on my Gumroad shop, as it is now in chat.
Yep. And you should 100%. I just clicked on it to double check. So you should absolutely do that because like just the art book on its own is worth the price of admission, honestly, like just on its own. But you can get postcards and you can get like all this cool stuff. And I imagine you're going to expand it over time, right, Tari? Like you'll add more stuff to it.
My store. Yes.
Yeah.
Though that is kind of dependent on like convention going stuff for the future, because I'm like now just starting to like think about attending conventions again and like what kind of stuff can I put there.
And you might
like all the stuff on there, not counting the book, that's like all from old conventions.
Okay.
So it's like
right. I was gonna say that though. Like there's also like you could do heraldry stuff, like maybe like your Penelope.
Yes.
I mean.
Yes, once I have enough
like
Penelope stuff, then I'm going to try to actually get a publisher for that stuff. Not self-publish if I can. But that's like future music, So, yeah.
I got that, Trivia. That's good to know. I'll think about that. I'll vet it ahead of time. And yeah, Imaginary doing exactly what I said about reviewing my own stuff, where it's like, book good, recommending. Oh, because I was saying just review. It makes such a difference. Just send her. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just drop a review if you like the book. It really helps.
Yes.
Anyway, but yes, definitely buy from Tari. It is well worth your money and coin. And otherwise, I'm going to see Tari in a couple of weeks, probably. Not next week because we have the Patreon Field game, but then the week after that, hopefully we'll figure out timing for November.
Next week I'm going to be playing something else with other people in real life. So.
Wow, really?
Next week.
I see how it is.
Yeah. I have also real life friends, so.
Yeah, I'm not a real life friend. You haven't met me in person.
No, you are.
So,
now you are. Since August, you officially are. Since you finally met in person.
That's true. We officially confirmed that each other exists.
Long weekend is next week, so.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. So I will see probably Tari back here in a couple of weeks, and we'll figure that out with Triffid and so on. Any place people should find you, Tari, besides on your store?
On Tumblr and on Blue Sky and on Kara at TariToons.
Okay.
Which is where I post my art and things. So go follow me there.
All good stuff. Thank you, Tari, so much. This was great. I really enjoyed it, and cannot wait for more Beowulf / Fighting Fantasy Gamebook stuff quite soon. I was not a hologram, Nari. Geez. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Tari. This is good stuff. I really enjoyed it. And chat, can we get some love for Tari and the amazing work? And I will see you very soon, Tari. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye for now.
Good night or good evening.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Farewell. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm glad that we got back into that. Because it's once you find out that the whole thing was a lie and you're like, wait, what? How is this possible? Then everything sort of comes down from that. So I'm excited to see how things happen. I'm also excited for my camera to focus. Focus, camera. There we go. Yeah. Camera's like, whoa, that's a lot of light. So anyway, this was good stuff. So I am very happy about that. And I will just, as you can see, Sherbert really loved it too. You can tell that Sherbert is super, super interested in everything that's happening. And you can also see that Ganesh was totally riveted. Now you see both cats. You can see both cats were riveted. Right. Like that, right? Both cats were riveted by everything that happened here. They were super, super into everything.
You could just cut the tension with a knife for these things. Yes, that's true. Last moment. Yeah, the chat chosen final vote. So last minute or two. Yeah, they're riveted to the floor. Exactly. So click on that link, folks, and get your vote in, because that's what I'm going to be playing next Tuesday during the channel stream. So please do that ASAP. Right now, Age of Wonders is leading 4 votes to 3 over Jagged Alliance. So get in your votes right now. Huge tale. Yeah, they have both like ridiculously impressive tales. Ganesh, so go ahead and get your vote in here. So Sherbert down there is, I believe, is 11.5 pounds. That's Sherbert. And Ganesh over here is, even though Ganesh is 2 weeks younger, Ganesh is about a half pound heavier. So Ganesh is about 12 pounds, and Sherbert down there is 11.5 pounds. And they just got their yearly rabies and distemper vaccine last week, so they are caught up on everything. They are caught up on all that stuff. All right, finish the vote. I'm going to pet both these cats because we know that's important. Hello, Sherbert. Hello. Yeah. Hello, Sherbert. Hello. Hello, Ganesh. Hello. Do I hear any purring? Yeah. These are both great cats. They really are. I am a huge fan of the fact that both cats do exactly what I hoped, which is that when I'm up here doing work, a lot of times they'll be up here with me. And like, I cannot explain how like really comforting it is to just be able to be over and just look over and they're just sleeping and hanging out. It's very cool. So super cool. So yeah, 11 pounds after tax. Yeah, no, they're definitely fine. And the funny thing is too, like when they're in play mode, they are like, they will zoom around like nobody's business. Like they're just like, you know, chasing each other. They like to do the play wrestle thing where they just, you know, battle each other because they're all fierce tigers, you know. And it's very funny because the difference between a real cat fight, which is not something anyone wants to witness, that is not pleasant to watch, but something like this where they just sort of like are just literally just kind of like they take turns and they like expose their bellies and then the other one like jumps up and like, rah, you know, and they make these. Siberians are not super vocal, so they don't do a lot of meowing or anything like that, but they'll do little things like rah, 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 or little trills or things like that. So yeah, zoomies are important and the rest of the day is getting ready for zoomies. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, but they're pretty great cats, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. End of the vote. Going once, going twice, and the final vote is in, and the winner is Age of Wonders 4. All right, everybody. Age of Wonders 4. Cool. I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. I have never played any of the Age of Wonders games, so I am excited to give that a shot. Jagged Alliance, you know, can be voted for later on down the line, possibly next month or the month after. Hey, Echo. But by the power of chat, the vote has come through for Age of Wonders 4. So that will be happening next Tuesday. But right now, I'm going to rise up on out of here because at the top of the hour, I am going to be playing more Songs of Conquest over on GOGcom's Twitch channel with Pen and Pixels. So I'm going to be doing more of that coming up later today at 4 p.m. Eastern. And as a reminder, we will then be off on Wednesday, but then Thursday night I'll be back with more Forgotten Realms. We are on to a new adventure in Forgotten Realms. We're now level 10/11. So we're going to be playing an adventure called Lich, which just opened up after we beat Hordes of Dragonspear in our last session. So that's cool. I'm very excited to play more of that and to see where things go from there. So that's going to be awesome. And then moving on up, I'm very excited for some of the other games that we'll be playing too. It's going to be super cool. But
Anyway, but that is going to do it for me on this channel, but not overall. I'm going to see you folks over at GOGCOM at 4 p.m. Eastern. If you liked what you saw and heard today, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube at !ArvTube, Discord !ArvCord, Twitter !ArvTweets, Blue Sky !ArvSky, website arvanelleron.com. Don't forget to check Hearthglow. No, I'm not playing Cyberpunk Dragonspear. I tried that once. You know I did. But Hearthglow, and then of course the Gen GM show as well with Zach Clay. Please check both of those out. On the financial front, !Arv Shop, my merchandise area. I know, boo. !Arv Treon is the Patreon where you can support the channel. That really does make a difference. Get cool stuff for yourself and the channel by supporting that right over there. I got halfway through the tutorial. Well, still. I got a good sense of the vibe of it, though, in fairness to me. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. So Patreon and then subbing to the channel is always a good thing as well. So please do that. Custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch, plus inspirations. Thank you, Effect Life, for attempting to inspire Genefifa to to climb up a wall without falling off of it. Then, of course, subscribing to the channel gives you those custom sub badges and emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch, and inspirations to help our players as well. On the publishing side, !Icarus, my graphic novel from Athos Arts. !Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. And Greyshade, Renegade, and Heretic, the books of the Grey Assassin trilogy, available there now, plus the audiobook of Greyshade from our very own Trent Sparks, available there now. And you can pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade, being done by our very own Brandon O'Brien and coming out from Alligator Alley Entertainment. That'll be out late this year, early next year, and you can pre-order that at this link as well. I should mention, if you were going to be in CanCon, at CanCon, which is in Ottawa, that's going to be coming up a week from this Friday. If you were going to be there, I am going to be there, and I'm going to be doing a special Q&A kind of book release, official in-person conference book release, and I'm going to be doing that with Ed Greenwood, interviewing me about my process of writing the Grey Assassin trilogy, which is really awesome because Ed was, of course, directly involved with that. So I'm super excited to be able to talk about that and to join these lovely people in Canada. Sadly not, but you could go north of the border, Dragon, and meet up with us in Ottawa. That would be lovely. But anyway, so that is happening at CanCon. I'll also have a couple of panels and reading and stuff. So it's going to be very good. I'm super excited. Boo, mark number 2. Very excited for all of that as we get ready going forward here. And last but certainly not least, BLM, Black Lives Matter. Important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message we will do so for others in the future in a similar situation as well. That, as I say, is going to do it for me. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream today. Solid turnout as well. Those remaining, thank you to my wonderful mods, Dragonspear and Triffity Mats, best in the business. Thank you as well to my Patreon supporters and subscribers, Dragon, Triffid, Effect Life, Craigery, and TomTom. And thank you so much to my wonderful viewers as well. Thank you to Big Boss, Black Fury, Imaginary Exponent, Jagtress, Mr. Jonas. Thank you to Cubics, to T-Bank, and to Extra Dead. Thank you, everybody. Please spread the word. Please let everybody know. And I will see all of you lovely folks, hopefully at 4 p.m. Eastern today, about 20 minutes from now, where we're going to be playing some Songs of Conquest on GOGCOM's Twitch channel. Until then, and I'll be back on this channel Thursday night for Forgotten Realms Unlimited Adventures with the Realm playing the adventure Lich. That's what's happening Thursday night. That's it for me. Thanks, everyone. Much love, and I will see you folks very soon over on GOGCOM's Twitch channel. Until then, everyone, please be good to each other, and have a good afternoon. Then on the strand, with steeds and treasure and armor, their roomy and ring-dight ship was heavily laden. High its mast rose over Hrothgar's hoarded gems. A sword to the boat guard Beowulf gave, mounted with gold. on the mead bench, since he was better esteemed, that blade possessing heirloom old. Their ocean keel boarding, they drove through the deep, and Daneland left. A sea cloth was set, a sail with ropes firm to the mast, the flood timbers moaned. Nor did wind over billows that wave swimmer blow across from her course. The craft sped on, foam-necked it floated forth o'er the waves, keel firm bound over briny currents, till they got them sight of the Geatish cliffs, home-known headlands. High the boat, stirred by winds, on the strand updrove. Helpful at haven the harbor guard stood, who long already for loved companions by the water had waited and watched afar.